everyone. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Rick, sure.
Ready? Salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bach.
Here.
Councilmember Cosio. Here. Councilmember Edge.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lund.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 2, public comments. Items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you wish to speak, the speaker has 3 minutes to address the council. We cannot take any action on that item, but is there anybody that would like to address? Come on up. Okay. Okay. She was waving her hand, so come on ahead.
Good evening, Council. Thank you. I am Elaine Reyna, 419 Salinas Road. I'm here to hear about my annexation, which Mr. Brinsley and I have discussed in the past. But I have one concern, and I did bring a DVD if you all would see this at one time. It's I have a concern about the flooding. I know we're in, what?
What, are you talking about something on tonight's agenda?
It said, couldn't I speak that is not on the agenda tonight?
Well, if it's not on, you may, but if
Yes.
it's on, you know, we have to wait for that item, but.
No, it's other than my annexation.
Okay,
I
that's
want
fine.
to-
Go ahead, continue.
okay,
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I want to just ask how it will be mitigated. The proposed homes going in behind my property and along the Little Lang Road, all of that eventually. It's a flood zone, and you all know that. And I have a DVD of where the whole back up to Nyland's back fence is a lake. And so my concern is how you will mitigate that so that won't be flooded when you put in the homes back there. And I realize that the homes are a good thing, brings taxes to our town. But how are you going to mitigate the flooding, the lake? And if you want to see the DVD, I have brought that.
Okay, and you can pass that on to maybe to the city manager, you know,
I've told
further
Mr.
consideration.
Brinsley about this. He knows
I'm
about
sure
it.
they'll be on it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to report that.
Okay,
you
Roger,
do that.
get that?
Thank you.
You know what?
I didn't quite understand where she's talking about.
Lane Court, that area behind,
There's no project behind her house.
Just to clarify, she's referring to the Johnson property, 6 acres, and there's been several prospective developers looking at it as a potential for development. Nothing has been applied, and I told her that when the application comes forward, that the documentation she has should be made available to us. Yes.
I didn't think there was any project.
Your mic is apparently not on.
you know, I'd like to have a council member make a motion. I'd like to move 4B. Oh, is there any other speaker cards?
No, that was
Okay,
actually.
okay. I'd like to move 4B up next, and then 6B. 4B is the sheriff's report, and then 6B is the BML letter.
I'll move 4B and 6B up between public comment and consent item.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? We're all good.
Aye.
Okay.
What happened to Mike?
Okay, 4B, sheriff's report. Eric?
Thank you, Mayor Moore, council members. So you have in your packets, I believe, the monthly report for July. If you have any specific questions, I have some notes on some of these case numbers. There were a couple errors. There's one listed on page 2, which is a theft, case number 795. That wasn't a theft, it was a warrant arrest. Just a pedestrian stop, and they had a warrant, so that's an inaccurate stat. We, along with our patrols, when we're trying to focus on area, which for us, Area 19, and our overtime for the 4th of July rally weekend, and then our overtime that I post for the weekends here, we log 189, almost 190 hours in the city limits during the month of July. Nothing of, I mean, the one area of concern was obviously the fireworks, and there was a one fire that luckily Deputy Brown, I believe, helped extinguish because he was here on overtime. I did bring in the Department of Fish and Wildlife, 5 wardens. 3 of them I assigned to the city during the rally weekend to assist the 2 deputies that we had here. I didn't have any reports or any after action that there were any problems associated with the rally. But if there were, I would like you to bring those to my attention so that it can go in my after action report for next year, so we can either plan different or the same, or focus on things differently than we did this year. As far as staffing, I went to a neighborhood watch meeting earlier in the week, and once again we've discussed, and I would assume it's still an item of concern, the San Juan deputy. So we have, just as far as you know, our staffing levels right now, we have 1 sergeant and 1 deputy per shift. That's still the same. For a short period of time, we had the school resource officer while they were out, so it gave us a 3rd person during the weekdays. But now we're back to 1 sergeant and 1 deputy per shift. We have 1 deputy currently in training, getting towards the end of his training. We have 1 recruit in the academy, and we hired a deputy sheriff yesterday who's already completed the academy, and he'll start training on September 8th. So we're still going over some staffing plans, but as we're waiting for some money from the state and to see how that's going to pan out for us to add another position, which would then give us a sergeant and 2 deputies per shift, where we can then refocus our efforts on getting back down here and serving you on a more consistent basis with more attention to this area and not having to post so much overtime to cover this responsibility that we have. And then the vehicle, I don't know if you got the information on the vehicle.
Dr. Tony.
We took a trip up, I don't know if you were aware, we took a trip up because our vehicle was ready, and so we drove up to Sacramento to pick it up, and it was ordered incorrectly. So we're working to fix that problem. It should be here in a number of weeks. So you have any questions for me? Any of the council members?
Black and white. Oh, okay.
Just wanted to thank you for coming to that neighborhood watch meeting. You did a real good job of telling us what your duties are there, and we really appreciate your taking the time to come to the neighborhood watch, and we hope to see you there again in the future.
Yeah, give me candy and I'll come back again. But one thing I would like maybe as a group for you to figure out is come up with some ideas on how we want to staff San Juan. It'll be contingent on us being able to fulfill that request, but we've talked about different things, and it came up at the neighborhood watch meeting about more of a rotating schedule, so it's not just like there's a knowledge that during these hours a deputy's going to be here, and then on these other hours there's going to be no coverage. So I just want us to all be able to work together on how we want to fulfill the contract and staff the city, and we'll do that for you.
You know, after that deputy gets released, you'll be put out into the field, but we will still have to wait for a longer period of time to replenish the San Juan deputy, because if you're running, 2 per shift, he's going to have to go somewhere. I mean, we've been waiting for 8 or 9 months. I mean, would that deputy go back to the field and then somebody would put in for that position over here, or are we still going to have to wait another 12 weeks for the one deputy who does have his academy to pass it? That'd take us into 2015.
Yeah, so the way that I see it now is once we get this next trainee released as a solo deputy to work the field, that will, in theory, free up a deputy for us to get back and focus on this area.
Right.
How we do that is a matter of discussion if we want to go back to the way we had it before, where it was one person assigned for a certain period of hours, or you want to rotate, rotating basis. We discussed, you know, the potential of doing something like have a deputy that's assigned here, but also as our staffing starts to increase, the thought is that we would start. I come from a city policing background where we have a beat structure. We have somewhat of that here. It's just hard to cover 1,400 square miles with 2 people. But the thought process is once we get this third person per shift, the third person's focus will be this area. So it'll be 24-hour coverage in the city, as opposed to, you know, a 12-hour, 3 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 3 days off, where you're getting that coverage during that time, but then the rest of the time you don't have a dedicated person in this area. So I think it's something for us all to work together to figure out, and I'm willing to work with you on that. It's just how we staff it is going to have to be an agreement between all of us.
Just one last thought, and I don't think I'm not going to be here, but I always mention the city manager, the 960 program with level 1 reserves, but you're tied with constraints from the union.
Correct.
Yeah, and that, you know, to put reserves over here that are retired that would work the city, you know, with the, you know, we'd pay them so much an hour, we'd have to pay them benefits. It'd be directly with the sheriff's office, but that can't happen until the Deputies Association, you know, gives you guys some freedom to put level 1 reserves out.
Our current MOU with the Deputy Sheriff's Association prohibits us from using reserves or a thing we call retired annuitants or temporary extra help deputies, or officers or deputies that are retired. They come back on a half-time basis. But the current MOU does not allow us to staff patrol with those deputies.
And that's not just the city of San Juan, that's the county.
Correct.
You know, so that is really, you know, I mean, I don't need to tell you, but it's, you know, you look at other jurisdictions, they use their officers and deputies, you know, but.
My main push right now is to figure out how we're going to get more staffing for the county.
Right.
My concern is that a lot of calls that are somewhat of a priority call take 2 deputies to handle,
Right.
and that leaves everybody else vulnerable. So my forward thinking is that we're going to have to work on the staffing issue, and hopefully as the economy improves. But I don't want to keep pushing this San Juan, your lack of a deputy, I don't want to keep pushing it down the road. So hopefully as soon as this next deputy gets out of training, we can address that issue and have some type of concrete plan to get back down here.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
On the beat thing, the way I understood you explaining it was we could maybe have the best of both worlds by looking at it as a beat thing, where we wouldn't have one cop who was solely responsible for San Juan, and therefore other officers might say, oh gosh, you know, wait till your guy's here. And that it would be more of a combination of a rotating and a dedicated. Is that?
As staffing increases, that's one thing that we had discussed, is that what one of my concerns is I don't want you, it's a positive and a negative. It's a positive because the community gets to know this one person, it's a go-to person, it's a contact person. For me, as it stands right now, that person can be me for any issues and requests down here. However, if you do have a dedicated person and that's all you have, I don't know, and I'm coming late into the game into this thing, so I haven't been able to experience yet, but in my former experience, the concern that I would have is that the level of service wouldn't be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because it would be thought of, well, you have a dedicated deputy, that deputy will be back on this day to work, call in, and that's what I don't want to have happen. And if that did happen, that would just have to be brought to my attention and put a stop to it, but it's easier to manage. And so what we had talked about is as staffing levels increase, have best of both worlds. Maybe have a dedicated deputy here to really have the finger on the pulse of the community, but also have a deputy assigned in this area, this beat of Area 19, on a full-time basis.
Any other questions?
I'm okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to move Mike up too? Do you want to move Mike up too?
Okay, item 6B, Margie, it's yours. Consider request by the County Board of Supervisors to send a no confidence letter to the Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me and giving me the opportunity to make this request. And I hope you got a copy of the letter that the county did approve. I did make the same presentation to the city of Hollister, and they voted 5-0 to go ahead and support it and send a letter to BLM. And just to give you a short history, in May of 2008, and this was before I was elected, I was sitting in the audience when this happened, BLM came to the Board of Supervisors and declared an emergency situation at Clear Creek. They claimed that they would need to close the area, just like that, but they used, in my estimation, questionable science that would assume great danger to any of the visitors to Clear Creek. So never mind that there had never been one case reported of illness as a result of that science. So, and never mind that we had about 30,000 visitors to that area every year, which you can imagine the effect that would have on the economy of San Juan Bautista, City of Hollister, and San Benito County in general. So everything came to kind of a screeching halt as a result of that meeting. I feel that the recession actually started sooner for our county than it did for the state of California back in 2008 as a result of that closure. Then in 2010, I made a request to the rest of the Board of Supervisors to ask that those roads be opened. Fortunately, we got the support, and those roads were opened back up to the public. But BLM continued their efforts to really push the issue of danger and emergency closure at Clear Creek. They did not allow people to ride in the area, but we were able to get our cars through those roads. They're not truly county roads, but they're easements for the county. They don't belong to BLM, they don't belong to the county, but they belong to the public. So because there was no conclusive evidence that the natural occurring asbestos was harmful, there has been a lot of questions from a lot of organizations that have asked the Board of Supervisors to support them in the effort to open it up. So if you didn't know this, there is more danger in scuba diving, snow skiing, swimming than there is recreating in motorcycle riding in Clear Creek. So BLM once again has denied access to the public. They have closed the roads again, put locks on them actually, and we have no way of getting through there. If you own property there, you have to go through a process. You have to get a permit, you have to make sure that you let them know which vehicle you're riding in, how you're going to get in there, which makes it very difficult for property owners. So we don't believe that it's fair. Congressman Farr has a House of Representative bill, and that's bill number 1776 to save Clear Creek Management Area. Not to open up the entire area, but part of it so that we can continue to use it as a recreation area in many different ways and give the public a right to be able to access those roads and Clear Creek again. So I want to thank you for your support. I hope that you consider supporting the Board of Supervisors and the City of Hollister. And I think that because this has had a very adverse effect on our economy, that you are cognizant of that and that you will support us, if for nothing else, but to bring back more people, more tourism to San Benito County. So thank you.
Thanks, Margie. We'll bring it back to the council for discussion.
Well, we've talked about it in the intergovernment about, sending out the letter, and I would be very much for it.
Is there any other reason that the BLM has for closing these roads besides the existing naturally occurring asbestos in the area?
Not to my knowledge. That has been their number one concern. And like I said, there has never been one case reported in relation to that natural occurring asbestos. I and my family recreated there for years, since 1974 to the mid-80s. And I know of a lot of folks that have and are still, going out there. And like I said, not one case. So yes, that is their primary concern. I don't know, maybe there's some underlying personal reasons. I don't know, but it doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to the Board of Supervisors, to the City Council, Hollister City Council, and a lot of other folks. So,
And they have no evidence of increased lung cancer from the asbestos, or there's no
None.
scientific evidence that you're aware of?
None whatsoever. And the folks, they still have employees in the area, which is, if they're so concerned, I would think that they would shut the whole thing down and keep everybody away from it. But they have employees still work in the area. I made a recommendation that they were so concerned about people going in the BLM area, leave the roads open and just put high fences and don't allow anybody in that area at all if it's that much of a danger. But no, that is the primary reason.
I think, and Marge is correct, is over the years, the BLM has tried to cordon off portions of the thing for special shrubbery and things, and they wouldn't allow any of the recreational vehicles to go into those areas, and so now they just close it off from the health standpoint. I'm personally involved is that I've been riding that area since 1956. That's over 55 years. And the people I rode with, there has never been any sign of illness.
And he's still here.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Hey, and going strong.
Yeah, going strong.
Strong, and so, yeah, I really don't know the motives.
Yeah.
Environmentalists, perhaps. I'm supportive of protecting our lands and making sure that we, that we protect our resources. But this is an area that has been used probably over 75 years. There's records that show that people have been out there since then riding motorcycles and hiking, just trails, and nope, not one case.
And this whole area is supposed, so, because I can understand what you're saying, where they would cordon off a small area because of a particular danger to a red-legged frog or whatever it happens to be. But the entire area is supposed to be covered in this naturally occurring asbestos?
They have identified an actual area that is more prone to that natural occurring asbestos, but they have actually prohibited anybody from going in the entire area. So what this bill that Congressman Farr is trying to put through actually protects some of that area that they're trying to bring it back to natural, like the shrubbery and the critters, which I think is important. But they really, he wants to also be able to open part of it to what it was used for before, and that was for recreating with motorcycles. So yeah, he wants to see a balance, and the county's supportive of that. We certainly want to be players in protecting the environment, but we also know that there's a lot of need for recreation and love for recreation, and everybody should be able to take part in what they enjoy doing as long as it's balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking so many questions because my first husband did die of the type of lung cancer that you most commonly get from asbestos, and we never knew if it was because of his job as a resource manager at Pinnacles, or if it was because as a teenager he worked in the shipyard, probably more likely. So I am a little sensitive to that type of lung cancer. It's very deadly. But if there's no documented evidence of any increased hazard, I don't understand.
None of us understand it, and that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, Roger and I both rode in there, and I think I'm all right. I know there's something wrong up here, but other than,
That's senility.
Might make you live longer, who knows?
maybe it does. I don't know. But I'd like to make a motion to, well,
No, that's fine. I was going to open it. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this item? Okay, I'll close it and I'll bring it back. And is there any further discussion? Okay, Tony, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we, how do you say that? Approve of this letter or support this the letter from the Board of Supervisors?
It would be, proper probably would be is to direct the staff to prepare a letter similar to the Board of Supervisors letter and send it to the Bureau of Land Management.
Okay. I'll make a motion and we direct staff to prepare a letter in support of the letter that we got from the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Any discussion? Further? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Mayor Lund, Vice Mayor Lund, promoted you, sorry,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, there you go. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Item number 3, consent items. Any wishes to pull any items before we vote on?
I'd like to pull the minutes, item C.
Item C, okay. Any other? Okay,
Make a motion to
yeah, make a motion, I guess.
approve
We
all the
have to.
consent items.
Well,
Well, all are
except-
just,
Except C.
Except C.
yeah, it just needs a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in, roll call voting. I'm good.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker is passes unanimously.
Okay, on the minutes on the last, excuse me, the last page, discussion item city water, it says Mission Farms RV Park and Diaz Labor Camp. Now, I think Diaz is owned the mobile home park, and I think the labor camp that's over on Mission Vineyard Road is owned by Christopher.
So it'd be
So
Mission
were we
Farms
talking about
Park.
It should be the Diaz mobile home park.
So that's in there, I think, once, just one time. Oh, no, up
No,
at the
it's in
very
there
top of the
twice,
page,
yeah.
yeah, the very top of the page and then in item F. So just with that change, I'm fine with the rest of that.
Okay.
Mayor, there was one other item. I believe you had me at the last meeting, that was in the minutes, but I think it was Bob Raffy was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely
on the
was.
first page.
Okay. Got those changes, Trish, then
Yeah.
make a motion to accept consent item 3C.
So moved
Second.
with changes.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, item number 4, presentations, informational items, and reports. 4A, monthly financial statement and treasury report. Chuck?
Good evening, council and staff. Once again, my name is Chuck Geiger. I'm the elected city treasurer of San Juan Bautista, and I just want to give you an update on our finances. As most people know, we just ended our fiscal year, which ended at the end of July. And by the way, all this information is on the internet, so you're welcome to go to our website and look at it if you'd like to. I just want to take a moment and talk about the budget, what you approved, and the actuals, which were the cost for the year. And I just want to say to you guys, great job. The budget was set up really well. The expenses were right in line, and we actually had, if you go and look at each category, you see that we were right there, or we actually were in a savings. So I tell you, I'm impressed. And there was I would say, Roger, would you say what, 3 or 4% savings
Yes.
in the budget? which means we're really running well. So I just want to mention that to everybody, that this council and this staff has done a really good job for the last year, which is 2013, 2014. So pat yourself on the back. You guys did a great job. The next thing I'd like to, so we are now looking at the papers that you have in your binder, which is also on the internet. We're looking at the treasurer's report. It's pretty much self-explanatory. I just want to mention a couple things to our public. Is the numbers look good. The overall cash flow for San Juan in terms of paying their bills and taking in the revenue is really looking. It looks very positive. Which is impressive that we're even with the drought situation. We tend to be Roger's found ways of saving money, and we're doing fine. I just want to say after the end of July, and we'd all like to have. We're looking forward to having the water system improved. I know I've talked to Roger and several council members about this, and I know that you're moving in a positive way of getting this done. And I just want to thank you guys for doing that. I know Roger will give you more information about that later, I guess, on his administrative report. So, before we get to the warrants, well, actually, that's where I'm at now. So, council members, and by the way, this is also on our website. If you'd like to look for the public, that each month we post not only the financials but also the way we're spending our money, so you can see how it's spent. And so I want to put it back to the council. If there were if there were checks that you were concerned about, would you let us know now and we'll explain? Okay.
Grissetti Environmental, 5600.
That's the environmental documentation for the ARCO thing, and that's reimbursable. All of the bills are filtered through the city, and then the applicant puts up the money and then reimburses us back for that cost.
Okay.
And then we really ask them to put the money up in advance, and then we're debiting that
And
account.
draw against it, okay.
Just a comment on that, and Roger's really done a good job about making sure that these developers are putting a good deposit down. We're not chasing them because they put a small deposit and the numbers get higher. So, like I said, that's great news, because the check you see, there's actually a surplus sitting into our account that we're drawing off of. So this is actually no loss to us. Okay.
One other one, San Benito County Auditor's Office, 5400.
Yeah, that's
the administrative cost. Go ahead,
right.
Roger.
They call that the PTAF money. It's the property tax administrative fund, that they use to segregate the property tax, earmark it for us, and then give it back to us, and it's an administrative cost. Part of
I see.
PTAF, they call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any others, Councilman?
Chuck, and basically it's the first page, fines and penalties. Does that include traffic fines, or is that?
I have to throw that back to Roger. Roger, could you take a look at that?
Yeah, that includes traffic fines, yeah.
So we only got
It's very low, yes.
$99?
Yeah,
That's right.
that's a little
And
disappointing.
I think that's one of the things that we want to work with Eric is that, and I don't want to diminish the fact that theft and fraud and all of the other elements of law enforcement is good, but I think that in the city, I think we need more law enforcement acuity and to go after the speeders too.
Aren't we paying some company $100 a month or something to handle our tickets?
That's just the administration to handle the tickets and process them, yes.
But we just haven't gotten any. And then I also noticed the TOT numbers were way down.
Way down, yes. That's contributed basically to the San Juan Inn is really, and now it's the Hacienda de Leal. It was down for about 4 months, 4.5 months. Just this last month, I think we got a big jump of about $3,000 and then the month before. So it's starting to pick up now as he's starting to rent the rooms. But there was a void there for about from April all the way through July.
During construction.
Yeah.
And that was really what it hurt for about
Yeah.
4 months because we didn't get anything because it was under, new management.
Yeah.
So, but actually the new numbers, Roger, don't you agree? They're actually at a higher percentage
Yes.
than what we were making before.
Yes.
So we're doing actually better on that piece of property.
Okay.
And that's just the August numbers?
Right.
Where we're doing better. The check you're talking about came in August, that's why?
Yes.
Okay. So it wouldn't show up here yet.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, Roger. Robert.
You know what I'm going to ask?
I know. Go ahead.
Our sales tax spikes from these $1 million events we're having, like the rib cook-off.
Right, and that's with our company working with HDL?
Yes.
Yeah, it is showing increases.
It is
And
showing.
I'm
Okay.
hoping to bring you some hard copies next month showing you how we have, it did go up. I don't want to talk about too much, but you're going to like the increase. The vendors are getting responsible.
Okay,
They're
because I know that
getting
we were going to try and, the event coordinator was going to get so much per booth and that, we were going to try to figure out the numbers from that area of
Right.
what the projected income would, which was taken in, and we could kind of have some type of tax base number
Right.
on that.
And now that they have to provide the person who's putting on the show, it actually requires them now to do paperwork on where they did their sales, and that there's some companies that you're going to be surprised that I think they were paying it to the wrong place, and now they're paying it to us.
They were paying to the 6% people instead of the
Yeah.
8 1/4
Right.
over here.
They all claim they paid their fair share.
So this
Anyway.
isn't about a spike in our local businesses during the events. This is about a spike in the city's collection of sales tax from the fair,
And that's
so,
what Robert's really interested in.
yeah.
Okay.
One more on the, also another environmental one. Besides the Grassetti, I noticed the environmental consulting services.
That's
Yeah.
another
Is that
one,
same?
yeah. That's a different project, but it's from the Rancho Vista property, yes.
So that's reimbursable?
Yes.
And you might have caught the one about the lighting district. That's over there at the north side. That is also one it has a different account that it's paid out of. It's like
Yes.
$1,200.
That's the
Yeah.
Valley Vista Assessment District.
Yeah.
And a lot of the big ones, their insurance issues, right? Their health insurance and their PARSAC is always pretty good size. Both, because we pay.
And then there's a couple other bills that I'm pretty are construction companies that must have to do with water project type stuff.
Which one was that?
There's several. There's a Nicholson one.
Yeah, that was the
And,
concrete work. And
concrete.
a lot of that is
Oh.
reimbursable to us.
Yeah, there was three different projects that consumed that 15,000. There was the lateral, the sewer lateral and pavement restoration at the Rudy Park. Then there was the curb, the sidewalk on Franklin Street that's reimbursable. And then there was the driveway and sidewalk at the fire department here, and portion of that ran over into Mr. Tobias's property, which is reimbursable. So of the 15,000, probably you're talking about almost $5,200, which would be reimbursable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Oh, good, thank you.
Thank you. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Does anybody from the public would like to speak on the treasury report? Just, you're welcome to. Okay, guess that's it. We did the sheriff's report, fire chief's report.
Jody.
Oh,
Good evening. Basically, there's not much to report. I think on September 29th, we're going to have the open house here for Fire Prevention Month, as well as open house for the citizens of San Juan and San Juan area and Canyon to come and see the firehouse that's staffed in protecting their residents and their children while they walk to school and all that. So it's here on the September 29th. And I don't have the hours. I'm still working with the fire prevention division chief, Leo Alvarez, to figure out the hours we'll have it open. But it's probably going to be something like 10 to 3 or 9 to 3. And we're looking at having some food for them and some activities.
Is that a weekend?
That is a Saturday. It's the last Saturday before the fair. The following weekend is the fair here in San Diego County. So, the report I just handed out to you, I'm hoping you all have it. It's basically broke down by the districts. Those are stations. If you look at them, it says district, station 1, station 2, station 3, station 4. It's broken down on the calls during the last 30 days, which was in the month of July. And Station 4 here in San Juan ran 35 calls, and it's 11% of the overall calls for the department. And Station 1 ran the most, running about 40% of the calls. The dollar figures that estimate lost is a value of either a car fire or a garbage can, trash can, something like that, structure fire, that there was some damage estimated to be approximately $100 damage here in town. The part that you don't see is what was prevented from damage. So if a bedroom catches on fire and it's $20,000, but we saved the house, which is $400,000, you don't see that inside. You just see the loss of $100 there. So that's a breakdown of all the calls for the department. The guys are here covering. They're doing a great job. We had your engine in for a little bit of repair last couple of weeks ago for electrical issues they were having on it. Brake lights going out, headlights going out. It's been repaired. And brand new tires on it. I think those got put on last month too, all the way around. So not that they needed new tires, but your tires were about 11 years old, and they're cracking on the sidewalls and stuff like that. And we did not want them to blow while we're driving to a call, so we just went ahead and replaced all the tires. So, as a precautionary.
What's the recommended age? 7 years or 8 years? Or
5, isn't it?
5?
Yeah, 5 years.
5 to 6 years.
That they're supposed to be replaced. So we noticed it that one of the engine captains was here and noticed some cracks and says, we're just starting to get some damage to the sidewall. I said, hey, just get it in and get it replaced. So that's part of the contract. So, any other questions?
Questions?
What time will we have in the open house? Is that going to be an all-day event?
We're looking at from 9 to 3, but we're just still trying. We haven't got it set, but I'm going to get something out to you guys here.
What day of the week is that?
What day? It's
Of
a
the week?
Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
It's 29th of September. And all the firehouses will be open throughout the county. I'm inviting everybody to come out, see what your department has to offer you, ask them questions, fire prevention questions, ask them any kind of questions. And hopefully they can answer them and show you around, and they can be proud of their fire department. But I am. I think you guys are too. So.
What date did you say?
September 29th.
Is it Saturday 27th, 29th?
I think it's 27th.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, 29th is a Monday.
Okay, 27th.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go to
I'm ahead of
27th.
schedule.
Yeah.
Yep, 27th. You're right. That's what I got it as. So, my apology. 27th. Correct that.
Saturday, anyway.
You gonna have
Yeah, this is
pancakes?
the last Saturday before the, like I said, before the kite fair.
I was going to offer if they need refreshments.
No, I want them to make pancakes.
You want pancake breakfast?
We'll do pancakes from 9 to 11 and hot dogs from 11 to 3.
We're looking at doing some more activities. We're trying to, this last year has been just trying to getting everything organized and going through the transition. I think things are going pretty smooth now. Things have smoothed out, pretty consistent. So now it's starting to bring some activities back and getting more community involvement. They are out doing fire prevention inspections. I'm not sure if You guys can see the engines out doing them. They're out introducing themselves to the businesses. They're giving advice. It's not heavy-handed inspections or nothing of that nature. They're just giving advice and giving them a sheet telling them some things that they've seen inside the businesses or structures, you know, such as maybe an extension cord that shouldn't be there, or extinguisher that's been out of date, exit block or something of that nature. Just trying to make the businesses safer, and if there is a fire, make it easier for us to enter and exit that structure when it's on fire. That's basically what it is. So, if you have any questions on that, go ahead.
Does the fire department get very involved in occupancy rates of businesses?
The occupant load and the occupant type are figured out by the building official. We enforce it. The fire code itself is a maintenance code. It's not an enforcement. It's how you build the structure. The building code is what that tells the standards on how to build. The fire code is how it's maintained after it's built, and that's what the fire department does. We enforce the maintenance of that structure from the day it's completed to the day it either falls down, burns down, or is destroyed and rebuilt some other way.
So do they ever go out to businesses and
That's what we
check
started.
for?
It hasn't been done for a while. We are doing it now. We're back out. You know, we're out right now. We sent out letters during the month of July, June and July, Roger. Is that when we sent them out? June and July, notifying all the businesses that we were going to be out doing inspections, and now we are out doing those inspections on a daily basis.
And that includes occupancy as well as the other things you
Yep,
mentioned?
everything. We're daycares, whatever, you know, business, schools, we're out there doing them all. Getting training done.
Great.
Time too.
And one other question, Mike.
Yes.
A home that's in town and it's being run on a generator, not an emergency situation, is that a health or safety issue, or is that allowed to be done?
It's a gray area.
Alternative electric power is possible. I mean, you can run your whole house on solar and battery if you want to. As far as generator, it has to, if it's installed properly to the electrical code and the building official has signed off on it and all that, it's permitted and it's legal. If it's not, if it's something that's been oaken rigged or something like that, I think code enforcement and the fire department needs to look into it now. If we're to know of that violation. And I can get that to you from you later if that is an issue.
Well, just in my nightly walks, there's a residence that's got a generator going,
All the
and I know it's, you know, but that's just a question.
It's, you know, and you're allowed to use it for temporary construction purposes and stuff like that. So there's, you know, it's, I think it's better just to look into it and see what the issue is.
Okay.
Is it disturbing the peace too, or not?
Well, fine.
You're not the next door neighbor.
I can hear it, you know.
Yeah, I can
Sure,
get
somebody's
that
gonna
data from
call.
you, and I'd be more than glad to look into it and address it and work with Roger if it is something that's a violation.
I know you've been over there before. The sheriff's office has been involved with that residence.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I think I know which one you're talking about.
yeah. Okay,
Is that it?
that's it for me.
If you need help with refreshments, I'll be more than happy.
Never turn away help.
More than happy
That's how we got here.
Okay,
with the open house.
John will be here, the captain, John Purnell. He'll be here working with the station and station personnel, trying to get it all lined up here. Leo will be doing all the coordination of that, so with himself. So we'll deal with you. Definitely. We'll accept your volunteer time.
Okay.
Take care.
Is there anybody in the public who would like to address fire report? Seeing none, I'll bring it back. Library report. Any questions? No? Okay, Roger. Administrative report.
Mr. Chair, members of the City Council, just to kind of recap, the Public Works, we had a little bit of tree damage at the Lux Park, and we've got that cleaned up and everything, but Joe's out soliciting some proposals to trim some of the trees, because we feel that some of those locust trees are ready to crack and come down, so some of them are very precarious right now. And when we get these bids, we'll bring it back to the City Council. As far as the planning, we're completed with the ARCO and the initial study and mitigated declaration, and it's been sent to the state clearinghouse and it's being reviewed. Matt's been instrumental in pushing that thing through, and then we've completed the general plan, and that's on board. You guys signed the contract, so we can get going on the environmental aspect of it. Things are moving along. We're very busy in the planning department, as well as processing 2 or 3 different applications and building permits, and so it's very active. In our code enforcement, again, we're staying on violations. We sent out a letter this morning on a yard sale violation. Parking is always an issue, and I think I pointed out in my staff report. I was over here 2 different occasions on the Sunday of the antique fair, and I've observed several parking violations of people parking in driveways and in areas where it said no parking, and I was a little bit taken back that the sheriff's department didn't jump right on that, because I can see it, and it was very blatant. In our department, the water action plan is our primary focus, and we're we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. We've identified 2 sites in selection for our wells. I've had Jan Swiker from the State Water Board over here. That is the Drinking Water Division. She's been very helpful and extremely cooperative. She supplied us with a lot of documentation of what to do, and she was giving us her insight on the 2 sites that we selected, and is helping us out quite a bit. So I think it's coming along now. We just have to go. The next step is to get the specifications and get our applications into her, and then get a well driller identified so we can do a pilot well before we invest a lot of money and drill a large well. We want to do a pilot well and go down to the depth we want, and make sure that we get the quality of water that we're searching for. And then my last is Matt. He's been my right-hand man since the other Matt's left, and he's been very helpful, and he's getting his feet wet and a lot of things, and I'm going to recommend that you consider him for the strategic plan. He's right on board, and
Who started that?
Roger, can I ask you a question on the well sites? When you and I were out there, you mentioned that the state had to come and
after we identify the thing and I submit the little drawing and stuff like that, they come over and they do a site review. And most often Lauren Lyons from the Water Public Health Division, she comes over, but she was sick, and so Jan came over, and then she toured it, and I showed her.
Oh, she did do it?
Yeah, she came over, and she's seen both sites, and then I took her down to well number 3 and showed her where we were doing the 400 amp panel and the lift station and how that's going to come together. So,
Okay. Any questions?
On code enforcement, Roger, and I know you, Matt, have been a lot of help on getting some of that going, but at our neighborhood watch meeting, actually it was Linda who mentioned a course that you can send people through.
PC 832.
And hire them to do some of the code enforcement. And we also, don't we still have, I don't know if it's under contract or just what it is, but New Leaf or...
There's 2 outfits that we used to have,
Yeah.
4 Leaf was one of them.
4 Leaf.
Yeah. And that was for building inspection and building code violations. Yeah.
That's just for building, that wouldn't be for parking or anything like
You could
that.
probably use them for code enforcement and parking and, stuff like that.
I just wonder, with staff being so overworked as you are, do we need to look at getting a code enforcement officer or using these companies that we haven't been making much use of? And I know it's expensive, but we really are lacking in code enforcement.
Yeah.
And it's no fault of staff. I realize you guys do the best you can with what you have. But I don't know. I don't know about the rest of the council, but I'd like to see a little step up in some of the code enforcement on, particularly on parking and that sort of thing. But there's other issues too.
And we do have an administrative code book, that, and a citation code book for administrative citations that involve all of the aspects of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code, from dangerous buildings to rubbish to poor property maintenance, as well as parking enforcement. So any individual that's could dedicate himself to that, he could keep busy.
And
particularly as you get going with the very shortly, we're going to have the final sign ordinance to you, and that's going to be a big major job because there's been a lot of lax service on the signs since we've been doing the new code sign ordinance.
What would be the most economical way to go? A part-time person and send them to this PC 832 if necessary, and hand them a code book, or go to one of these contractors that does it?
Let me field some of these organizations that provide that service and code enforcement, and then get an idea where maybe we didn't have to use them 5 days a week, but we could bring them in 3 days a week or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And make it palatable to our budget.
Yeah, just a part-time is all I'm suggesting, because I think that would take a lot of the heat off of the two of you.
And if there's specific things you want me to look at, let me know, because right now I just basically respond to complaints.
I know.
So
I know,
and
'cause that's
I'm
all
not
you
nearly
can
as
do.
familiar with the town as you are, so just
No, I understand that totally. And that's why I'm suggesting another way to do it, because you guys have the water project and building stuff and a lot of things going on.
Yeah, we're more reactive at this point rather than proactive.
Roger, what's our policy on yard sales, garage sales?
We try to catch them. This morning I sent one out for a yard sale that was in violation, It's just a matter of getting out into the neighborhood and see if they have the yard sales. I think last year I sent one down on First Street because they were doing it almost every weekend.
Is there do we have hours of operation for a garage sale on that, or?
Not so much, yeah. You can only get 2 a year, I think it is, or 3 a year. I think Trish, was it 2 a year? 2 a year? Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years, something like one every 6 months.
Yeah.
3-day duration.
3-day duration.
And for your $10 permit.
And if they're not in compliance, or do they have a fine, or?
Well, theoretically, it would be a fine of the municipal code, and what is that? $50 fine?
Yeah, 50 and then jumps to 100.
100, yeah.
Okay.
Also on the wells, you said the other day that it's hard to get a well driller right now. Is that still the case, or have we got
somebody? It's not so much hard. Everybody's committed, and so you've got to get on their waiting list and get programmed into it. And so there's a little bit of delay now because everybody is really extremely busy.
It's the high season.
Yeah.
So your earliest estimated time to drill a well, how long is that going to take and get it online?
Well, I think the preliminary estimates we had was from the start to finish was 6 to 7 weeks.
Okay. And how soon can they get in?
As soon as we can get committed, and.
Yeah, because right now we don't have anybody who's agreed to do it, start tomorrow or whatever, right?
We've got the specifications and we've got the bid documents being prepared, and then we'll go out and solicit bids for that, you know.
So first it's a matter of bids, which takes at least a month, and then it's a matter of another 6 to 8 weeks after we get them committed
Yeah.
to.
Roger, one other question, the nitrate issue. Even though I agree we should drill another well, but for the last, how many weeks has well number 2 been under the 45?
I think it's been about the last, I would say, 7 weeks.
So at what point, even though, I believe we need to drill, move on and build get a new well, at what point, if that stays consistent, will the state back off?
Well, that's up to the state, and so we have to continue to work with them, and we're showing our sincere intent to keep it below the 45. That's
Well, that's my
the
question.
64 that's the $64
Well, I know that, that's
question.
what I'm saying, is
I wish I had the answer.
it's not the residents, it's some restaurants owners that are, feeling uptight about it, and you want to tell them, do it, you can't. But, yeah, my question is, like I said, at what point, if that level stays below that 45, they say, hey, just watch it.
That's what we got to work on with the state and the health department and show them that we're consistently below the MCL level.
Right.
Are you getting much use out of this by the firehouse here?
I think it is, yeah. I don't keep an eye on it on a daily basis, but I think they're using it.
People are using it.
The restaurants are aware that they're able to use it as well as mothers of small children. And
Yeah.
There was a local restaurant a week ago, I drove by, and they had a water truck there. I got out of the car, went in there, I said, hey, what are you guys buying? I talked to the manager, I said, what are you doing? I said, go over here. I said, well, we knew about it, but, I said, well, I'm telling you, it's there for you guys. And it was one of the bigger restaurants. I said, they were buying their water. I said, well, we got it right here. Well, okay, thank you for telling us. We kind of knew about it. I said, well, okay. But, they knew about it or whatever, but they were purchasing it. And I mean the big, the plastic jugs. I said, okay.
do you want to briefly tell the public about the reverse osmosis that we have set up there behind the firehouse? Maybe that would be useful for the...
Yeah, it's available to the public. It was installed on the alley side of the fire department there, and it has a bib to the outside and a shelf there where you can fill up. We've designed it to where you can fill up 5 gallons at a time with the containers, and people can use it 24 hours a day.
5 gallons at a time.
Yeah.
Which is plenty for a household with a small baby. A little slow maybe for restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Anybody from the public that just chime in if you have something to say? Okay, I'll bring it back. And public meetings and committee reports. Who wants to go?
I'll start.
Okay.
We had a neighborhood watch meeting, as we already talked about, with Captain Eric Taylor came and spoke, and the neighborhood watch group members would like to sincerely thank Captain Eric Taylor for speaking at our meeting last Thursday evening. The members were very impressed with his background and can-do attitude. He mentioned his concerns about the short staffing at the department, but said with the excellent staff they have and a few new deputies joining the force, things are improving. The big challenge for San Benito County Sheriff's Department is the huge territory that has to be covered. I think he mentioned 1,400 square miles have to be covered by a small staff, and the distance that sometimes has to be covered to get to a call in San Juan. Neighborhood watch members noted that when there is a deputy stationed in the city, response times are excellent. And we did talk, like I mentioned, Linda brought up the possibility of training our own code enforcement person, and also the parking during events that Roger mentioned also. People were parked in the, I saw cars parked in the red, I saw cars parked across crosswalks. When you don't have a dedicated person here to take care of that stuff, it becomes more of a problem. And then AMBAG meeting, public comment on the Draft Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Plan, MTIP, is open until August 22nd, 2014. The MTIP is required by state and federal law and is a multi-million-dollar, multi-year program of proposed projects for major highway, arterial, transit, and bikeway projects. It includes the Highway 156 Improvement Plan, as well as other local projects. So if you have comments, you can email them to bpatel@ambag.org or mail to P.O. Box 809, Marina, California 93933, or fax your comments to 831-883-3755. The document is available online or at City Hall. I'll leave this here. I think there's already one here, but there's the latest draft of the Metropolitan Transportation Improvement Plan.
Tony?
At a COG meeting, there wasn't anything that really directly related to San Juan, except I have a note to myself. I have a COG meeting on Thursday to ask Caltrans to trim the bushes and shrubbery around the Alameda at the stoplight. Somebody brought it up that it's pretty overgrown there on the southwest corner. Yeah. That was it.
We had a fire meeting. Actually, we didn't have enough for a quorum, so we rescheduled it for a week later. Had a special meeting. Went back and we went back to make a decision on buying the CalStar trailer. The CalStar trailer that's sitting out at the airport is now going to be the new Station 3. They're actually going to relocate that next to the jail over by Flynn Road. We had to vote through the council there and respond that day. That's why we had to have a special meeting. I haven't got any thing back on that. I probably asked Mike Chief O'Connor what the results on that would be. There was no comment from CAL FIRE, and just basically gave us the report that he had given us here tonight. We didn't discuss about the open house. I'm glad I know that now. And intergovernment, nothing really related to San Juan, other than just reports.
I just want to give kudos to Roger for kind of disappointing to get that Station 3 took forever, and I guess the county and the city of Hollister couldn't come together. And thank you, Roger, with your great work and everybody from the city. You got Station 4 up and running and great time. So thanks for that. Anyhow, Rick?
At a LAFCO meeting last month, nothing relating to San Juan came up.
Okay. That's it.
No water?
What's that?
Water resources?
No, not this month, no. September. Okay, item number 5, public hearing. 5A, the Ambrosia Vista Development. Consider resolution 2014 approving a mitigated negative declaration.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the Planning Commission revisited the revised tentative map and PUD permit for the D'Ambrosio. It was reduced from 40 lots back down to 27. They've evaluated the environmental aspects of it. They've adopted a resolution recommending to the City Council the mitigated negative declaration and the PUD permit, the issuance of the PUD permit, as well as the final tentative map for the PUD. The Planning Commission approved it with the 32. They added 3 conditions, and it came out to 32 conditions of approval. as well as the thing. And I've submitted a revised condition of approval for you to review. I put them in yellow, and these were just more clerical evaluations of the conditions of approval, where item 6 was a articulated stucco fence and a 6-foot-high wooden fence. And on item 19, I'd mentioned First Street, and it should have been Third Street for the modified speed bump on Church Street. Item 22 was the triangular piece south of the lots 1, as well as lots 23 through 29, and a wood fence along there. And lot condition 28, 30, and 31 had some clarifications, which will should be shall, and within, in should be within. Minor stuff like that. And the staff report had indicated that prior to taking any action on the thing, that the City Council should open the public hearing and receive input and comments, and upon closing there, then you would be, is to approve the initial study, mitigated negative declaration for the project with the findings, and then you can get in and adopt the resolution adopting the mitigated negative declaration and findings, and the resolution approving the PUD permit and vested tenant amount.
Okay, Roger, so basically the verification of posting, we're done there, we're good?
Yes.
And then go ahead and open it for, I guess, for public comment, correct? Roger?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up for public comment. When you hear your name, please come up to the podium.
Good evening. I had spoke at the planning meeting, and I had also sent an email to all the council members requesting for there to be some street lighting between North and where that speed bump is on 3rd Street. It's not in the development, it's not their responsibility, but it's an awfully dark section, and it would just be appreciated if the City Council would consider having lighting installed when the street is expanded. That street's supposed to become wider at some point. It's a very narrow street to begin with. Fair amount of foot traffic, but it is a very dark area in that 250 feet or however many feet it is. So I again had sent emails to the City Council on that. Also on this, somewhat related, there's a brush pile that has been on that land since they cleared and wiped it down, and I had sent a letter to the city staff regarding that. They put up some no trespassing signs, but I've been watching that pile grow over the last year. If you go on the back side of it, you'll see debris and rubbish. So I would ask if maybe the developer maybe could remove that and get rid of the temptation to use it as a dumping area. And then my other question is there I don't know what the estimated timeline is on this, when they might be starting construction, when they might, if anybody knows yet. I know it's kind of up to the developer. Just a basic timeline. They start in 6 months, 9 months, a year, 2 years. That was it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks, sir. Any other speaker cards?
I have no other speaker cards.
Is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak on this?
I can respond to Eric's concern, and he brought that up at the Planning Commission, and we looked at it as part of the development from the 27 lots. A new street light will be placed at the northeast corner of Lot 1, and that would be almost directly across from the daycare center that has been converted to a single house. The 2 existing joint poles are on the south side, or excuse me, on the north side of the thing, and we contacted the PG&E about retrofitting a street light on that pole there at the corner of 3rd and North Street there, and they're giving us a proposal on that. So that would give us 2 lights within that one area there that could illuminate the pedestrian traffic as well as the vehicle.
Okay. At this point, I'm going to close it to the public hearing or bring it back to the council for discussion. Whoever wants to go first?
I went through,
Okay.
I read this about 3 times ago. Going to the mitigation measures, you have inclusionary, and it says referring there's a letter in here from Kara Vaughn that she questioned the inclusionary housing provisions. Has that been addressed?
Yes, that has been addressed, and that is a condition of approval. I'm just looking to make sure that I know the right number here. It's speed bumps, inclusionary, condition number 21. Maybe you read that. The applicant shall be responsible to meet the inclusionary housing provision of the City of San Juan Bautista Municipal Code, Chapter 11-09. Secondary units, duets, constructions may be part of the required compliance to meet the inclusionary provisions. In lieu fees may be applied conforming to the city inclusionary requirements of the municipal code.
And then on 3.13, transportation, there seems to be different, this says will construct a roundabout intersection, but then someplace else I saw it was...
Item 28 applies to that, is the applicant shall enter into an agreement to pay its fair share for a roundabout intersection cost at the intersection of Donner and 3rd Street. Now, what we did was we said that credit shall be applied and granted to the applicant for any improvements within the subdivision which will accommodate the roundabout construction of the intersection. The city will determine and calculate the fair share agreement. So the way we had it designed is that when they get ready to do the improvements, the curvilineal alignment of the roundabout can be created as part of the subdivision improvements.
Okay.
The remaining of those will be accommodated with future development.
That's what I was... Oh, future development will be on the other, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Christopher.
Yeah. Okay. Now, also, the Kara was saying this is only a partial road is being improved on 3rd Street.
Right.
The applicant is required to, from the center line, to develop their half of the street. We conditioned this for a 2/3 of the street. So on the north side of the center line will be 12 feet of pavement. So that will accommodate 2 lanes of traffic, parking, and next to the curb and a sidewalk. So it'll be a full street without any parking on the north side.
Okay.
Roger, do we approve this mitigated at this time, if we don't have any other questions, and then move on, if I have questions on item number 2, the approving the PUD?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think before you take any action on approving any PUD permit or vesting tenant map, you must adopt the mitigated negative declaration and make the findings.
Right, I got it.
And you will have made the findings if you adopt the resolution.
Okay.
Yes.
The findings
Right,
are
before we move on.
Okay.
So, environmental resolution first.
Roger, number 6 on the articulate stucco fence along westerly and easterly property line. I still have a little problem with that because it appears to me that the easterly property line is 3rd Street. The westerly property line is going to be separating the development from the sewer ponds, necessary, definitely, even though that it means the
3rd Street runs north and south.
3rd Street runs north and south, okay, so the westerly side, the easterly side of the,
I think it should be written there is you're installing a 6-foot-high articulated stucco fence along the westerly and easterly property line of the project and a 6-foot wood fence along the southerly portion.
but the westerly side runs along 3rd Street.
Well, I'm going to
I
say...
mean easterly, thank you.
Yeah, I should say southeasterly. Probably, if you want to technically be. Yeah.
Well, that's where I want to clarify, because I don't want to see any fences along Third Street, just like
No,
all
and they're
developments.
not- and
It
they're
should
not
be
gonna-
open.
And they're not going to be along Third Street, you know. And I think because this north angle is obtuse to the development, we should say southeasterly rather than south.
So
Yeah.
when you say that part, you're talking about the one that's going to run along
Lot 1.
Lot 1 and behind lots, those numbers are too small for me.
Exactly.
15, 16, 17, 18, or something like that. And that's going to also be a stucco, a wall. It's a stucco fence.
We want to try to encourage them to make it more of a fence rather than a wall.
Yeah, I understand that. I just, it gets me that nowhere does it clarify that we're not going to allow any fencing of any kind other than the standard 3-foot picket or rail fence to front Third Street.
The 3-foot picket fence is up to the individual owners along
Right.
their frontage.
But that's all that will be allowed along Third Street.
And the current code says is that at the back of the sidewalk, it can't exceed 3 foot high, and then it can graduate from 3 feet up to 6 feet from the back of sidewalk to the front building setback.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm very happy with that ordinance. I just want to make sure that this development does not end up behind a wall,
No.
because that's never been done in San Juan, and I don't want to see it start now. And I just, when I see the wording of it, I'm like, okay, it says easterly. Well, that's Third Street is the easterly side. And then I also wanted to mention what I brought up to you, and thank you for all these other changes based on some of our discussion. But also, instead of speed bumps, I really think raised crosswalks are just as effective, a lot more useful, and a lot less disruptive instead of speed bumps.
Well, you could approve here, just as the applicant should install modified speed bumps or alternate.
Works for me.
They're supposed to be traffic calming and reducing mechanisms.
Third Street runs east and west.
No, it runs north and south, but the border of it is east. I'm sorry, I got interrupted. Yeah, that's the only things the only concerns I still have. I'd love to see them pay for the entire roundabout, but I can see where you can't really ask them to make up for a lot of deficiencies on that street. They're already making up for some of the deficiencies on that street.
Any other questions?
So can we change easterly to south? Would you say it was actually southeasterly?
Southeasterly.
And does anybody else agree with me that speed bumps aren't really that fun and raised crosswalks might be more useful?
Well, you know, something different. There is a speed bump there,
Yes.
right by where the preschool used to be.
I know, I've heard about it many times. I hear about the
Well-
cars flying over it.
Well, yeah, they're not really effective. And if you do, say, like Roger and I have talked about, a couple on 4th Street, raise them up 6 inches, but spread it out 6 feet wide or whatever. And that way they can get more airborne, you know. 'Cause-
You don't think they're effective either? The big, wide
Well,
crosswalk things?
no, I think, I'm hoping they're effective. And especially if they're hash marked, you know, as a crosswalk.
Yeah.
But you're still going to get the yo-yo that's going to,
Oh, sure.
You know.
There's always going to be yo-yos. But how would we change that wording, Roger? If we wanted to make it open to other,
I
Instead
would
of
say
speed bumps?
is a modified speed bump or an alternate
and that's number,
6, is it?
was-
Or no,
no, 6 was the
19.
fence / wall.
I
We want
lost.
to say, or an alternate subject to the approval of the city manager.
Okay. And I'm certainly no expert on raised crosswalks and speed bumps. I just know what I prefer when I'm driving. And what I think makes it safer is that you have the hashed crosswalk that
And we
might help to slow people down.
And the Cal Poly students have addressed that same issue in their street design and safe street designs, and we're looking at trying to adopt some policies on that, so when we get into new development, that'll be a standard condition of approval.
Yeah, or it can be added to
Yeah.
an existing development, which is going to be affected by
Yeah.
27 more houses driving down their street.
Is the applicant here, Roger?
See, I don't know, yeah.
If you'd like to
Yeah, the
step up,
applicant's
if you have
here,
any
yes.
input, you're more than welcome to chime in.
Good evening, City Council and staff. Thank you for considering our next phase of trying to get this development off the ground. We think the changes we've made with Roger's help and the staff's help and our engineer is a better product for San Juan Bautista based on public comments over the last couple of years, and then trying to sell the project that we had approved. We had developers tell us that's the wrong product for this market, so we're trying to get the right product and get it in place.
You know, I just want to say, ever since I voted for that project, I had reservations about the density, you know, what was going in there. And I know Eric was here, but I went with it. But you kind of, and I'll admit, you bailed me out because somebody did, because I often we were putting too much in there.
Well,
You know, you're just visualizing, you know, driveways. It was going to be instant chaos, but you know, it's now been corrected, and I did vote for it. But I'm glad you came back,
we think it's a
and
better fit.
I think it's a way better project because it was just, you know, it's
Well,
what it is.
part of it, we're following zoning requirements from the
Right.
state, and you know what
Yeah, no, I.
made sense as a development also economically. So
All right. Now the lot sizes are
4,000 to 7,000
Square
based
feet.
on that tentative.
and
map.
then your units
Right now, we're
off the
thinking
top of your head.
4 type of unit sizing from about 1,800 to 2,600, 2,600, so only 700 that have a drainage quarter.
Okay, my other question is, and just, this will be back to the, because I like Creek Bridge. Whoever approved that did a great job. I liked how that's designed. And
Yeah,
I
planning
hope
commission.
that the public gets involved with that, and, you know, and I'm sure the planning commission will be right on board.
Roger
Put out a nice
that-
project.
That was one of the things they asked for was architectural.
Yeah,
review,
I mean, that, yeah, I just,
landscaping review. If they do want to be involved, then we will.
no. And so, Roger, the Third Street there, right, is that going to be between the preschool and north that will be widened, or
Yes,
on the
south side.
Eric's side?
on the south side.
On the other side.
yeah.
In my other conversation years ago, you had money allocated from PG&E for underground utilities for that section, and you
yes.
also had mentioned the Alameda.
The Alameda.
I wonder, you know, we could just put all that stuff underneath. I mean, I don't know where, I don't know what's in that fund now.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
quite substantial.
Substantial, yeah. And we're working with PG&E to implement both of those projects.
Right.
But there won't be, for this project, there won't be any work done on that side of the street. So there
No,
would be...
no, no.
There's no
Yeah.
timing
I
issue
think-
of doing it
I
at the
think-
same time.
I think-
Everything's going to be done on the other side of the street
The
currently.
portion that we're looking at is that when you get to the end of Third Street and the utility poles that go along the west side of the D'Ambrosio property to serve the cemetery, we want to encourage that to be underground. And so the undergrounding along Third Street in that one section from Donner to the wastewater treatment plant can be underground, and then the subdivision will put an extra conduit up the cul-de-sac through that open space to the cemetery, and then that can be converted. So there's a balance there, and it'll save the city money as well as the developer's money, because both are going to end up with a better product, and everything will be underground. And you can see what I'm talking about. Without that, the city would have to underground our portion there. And by undergrounding their portion, then we can just take and put the conduit, because they got to run electricity up to those houses, and it's just an extra conduit in the trench that'll go up and then put a junction box right up on top. So economical wise, it fits.
Now, are the telephone poles, Eric, are they on your side or are they on the other?
There's poles on both sides.
Right.
Both sides, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what. And I agree with you, it's dark there at night. And it'd be nice to put some old street lights like you have in Creek Bridge, extend it up. But I think I've told other people, and it is my vision, and I'm not going to put it on all the developers, is Third Street between McCollum and Tomalamy is a mess. It's probably the worst section of the street in the city. Gotta be.
Whereabouts?
Right here between the library, and coming up to McCollum. It's a disaster. That street's a disaster.
It's just completely broken down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the worst part in the city. It's our main thoroughfare. And I mentioned to Roger, I said, if D'Ambrosio comes in and Christopher in the city, we ought to just take that whole section and clean it up. And I don't want to make it part of it, but work together where if you put 27 homes and you got another 90 or 100 coming in, where the parents get off and they want to come down and have a glass of wine or go eat dinner, or a mother's at home with their child, you can't push a baby carriage when you pass, Tuolumne going towards, it's a disaster. But what I'm trying to, I guess my vision is for you guys and the future people that are sitting up here is to open that up and have it nice where parents can, take their kids on a bike, little bike trail or like a bike path or a baby stroller and come to town and have dinner and walk home. But that section is a mess.
And that's part of your capital improvement program.
Yeah,
that will be funded through these impact fees that...
Well, that's what I'm saying, Roger. I mean, to do all these and get everything done and bring everything together.
Well, the front of our subdivision would definitely be improved with sidewalks connecting to the sidewalk.
Right.
Which creates a path that I don't know what shape the sidewalk is.
Well, I guess what I'm referring to is the impact fees and where to put it to get people downtown.
That's your decision.
Well, no, but I'm just putting that because it's just crazy how it's a mess down there. But some of the city can worry about.
Hopefully with some of the things we are going to do, we'll make some improvements with widening that choke point.
Right.
Burying those poles and doing some of the things that have been
The only other question I had, Roger, are all the improvements for a 27-lot subdivision, are they all curb and gutter are going to be put in at once, or is it going to be phased in?
I think
that would be our intention, to do all the site work, curbs and gutters.
At once?
At once.
Okay.
And then phase that.
Okay, just in case something happens. I mean, I'm not, a bigger project, I can say, hey, okay, but 27, if something were to happen, at least we have all the curb and gutters in, all the utilities ready to go, where you don't have to come back and bring in heavy equipment again.
Right.
It's all there. That's fine.
No, go ahead, Ron.
Do you have a projected value of what the houses are going to be selling for?
That's one of those $65,000 questions. Right now, we're keeping our finger on the pulse. We're looking at comps weekly, monthly. We'd like to see $250 a foot on average happening here. Less than 2,000 square foot house, that's $500,000. Right now, we're a little below that, probably more like $235 a foot. And that $15 can make or break up a project, so we're still watching that very closely because that has to work for the project to work. Unfortunately, you can't build the houses any cheaper. The cost of the house is the cost of the house to build a nice product that's worth $500,000 if that's what you got to get. So it's a double-edged sword there. But it's a real fine line, and that's one of the indicators we're using to see when to start this thing.
That's where your higher densities would have been useful, bringing the cost down.
I just wanted to ask a few questions. If I heard you right, the square footage of the lots is 4,000 to 6,000?
7,000.
To 7,000.
The ones
Okay.
along 3rd Street are fairly large.
Okay, and then the houses are going to be 1,800 to 2,700?
Yeah, in that range.
All two-story?
No.
No?
We have some limitations where the houses along the border with the 3rd Street houses existing, we don't want to look down into their yards anymore, and so those are going to be at least 4 or 5 single story.
Okay.
Plus, there's a demand for single story houses, definitely, so we have to be able to mix some.
Okay. I guess this is for Roger. Roger, when Creek Bridge connected to 3rd Street, did they leave any money in the form of a bond or anything for the improvement of this intersection in the future?
No.
No? Okay.
We do have another pending minor subdivision across the street from Manuel Lopez, who just got through remodeling the daycare center, and he has 2 more lots in there, and so when those come on, they will be paying their fair share.
Okay. From 3rd and Donner down to, I guess it's the northerly end of 3rd, is that the gateway into the sewer ponds?
Yes.
So 3rd Street, other than servicing the cul-de-sac, would only service the sewer ponds and no other development?
Exactly.
So then, this land in between Creek Bridge and 3rd Street, is that the access to the Christopher property?
Yes.
And any other properties out there?
Just the Christopher.
That's the only one that comes in there? Okay. I'd kind of like to see a little bit more done with 3rd and Donner, because Creek Bridge tied into it, but they didn't really do anything other than their own street. And it's nice and wide coming in there, but they generate traffic, but they don't, they added a problem to the city there. That intersection is not the best intersection in the world, and we're going to increase the traffic that goes through there. We have a narrow stretch because of that development that went in through lawsuit at the corner of North and 3rd. They come into that intersection where we should have pushed them back and had them dedicate more land to the street there. So we have a narrow street there, and I'm concerned about traffic generation that's going to have to go through that area. And so I'm wondering if we shouldn't do the roundabout a little bit sooner and encumber the properties around there to share in the cost when they do develop. That's one thought. The other thought is, I'm not keen on in-lieu fees. And the reason why is because the only thing you can do with in-lieu fees is create a ghetto. Unless you do below market rate homes within a subdivision, you don't have affordable housing. If you look down 3rd Street, you were talking about 3rd Street right now, that's basically affordable housing. You have big houses and small houses, and that's the mix of the two is affordable housing. They aren't all big and they aren't all small. But if we collect in lieu fees, then the only thing we can do with them is help some organization build a project that is going to be all affordable housing. And we saw what that did to Hollister. So I would like to avoid in lieu fees on this project if I could.
Didn't Creek Ridge, by putting those granny units in,
Yeah, but then they weren't allowed to rent them, I understand. So I don't know how that...
they're being rented now, I know that.
Yeah, but I think originally they weren't, and I don't know how that helps affordable housing if you allow them to put a granny unit and then tell them they can't rent it.
It does.
I think they can rent them. I think the provision of that in Creek Bridge is that the primary owner can't move into it and rent the front house. The primary resident has to live in the front and they can rent the back. But there is a catch with it to say that if the owner of that lot with a secondary unit, he can't move into the secondary unit.
A reverse occupancy?
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what.
remember asking Larry Keane if he was going to go check on that every 6 months to make sure that the owner was living in the front.
But secondary.
Somehow and you said something about
That's one of the
granny
things.
units.
Yeah, because the lots really aren't big enough to put a separate little house or
Right.
upstairs granny unit that's rentable.
So would that
Just by
alleviate
just by-
some of that?
Yeah, just by virtue of the smaller lots and the smaller house sizes, that's going to reduce the cost of the housing. Now, we have to balance that off with the larger houses that'll counteract that, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's enough room for a driveway to get back to the back of the property.
No. And the widening of the road here and the widening of the road here is almost facilitated that roundabout. It's just a little area right in here that needed to be completed that would make this roundabout complete.
Now, who owns that property there?
This is owned by Creek Bridge. That's where that little park is.
So how would we get them to participate? They've already built and moved on.
Yeah. This would, there's a big tree here and then another big tree over here. Yeah. We'd have to take a look and see if and that's all in the public right of way. And so we could do it, with the cooperation with the developer here and do it because it's in the public right of way.
I've got another question. Is there going to be a homeowners association or the same thing as Creek Bridge maintains?
Landscape and lighting, I
It's not a homeowners association with this new proposal.
There'll be a lighting and
lighting district.
Lighting district.
Oh, okay.
think. Landscape
And you
and
can
lighting.
see where the property line is here, and then this is still in there. So it would be just a matter of knocking the curb and gutter out of there, and then put it back there, and then it would be complete.
So this is the property line for Creek Bridge?
Yes.
So then who owns that corner there?
City.
Oh, the city
Yeah,
does?
city property,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
that's ours already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Except you lose a little park there.
No, the
That
park
one
is
is so-
further back. The property
okay.
lines. Yeah.
I agree with Rick about wanting to see more done towards this roundabout. If not actually constructing the roundabout, at least making sure in these where is it here? The conditions of approval that the sidewalk does go out and around for a roundabout, and at least getting that area ready for the roundabout. Because the problem I'm hearing right now is, okay, the 3rd Street lots are bigger, and they're going to have granny quarters. We're taking away some of that lot size with this roundabout. And so at least 2 lots would not be as large as you're expecting if you prepared them for the roundabout. So I'd like to see that roundabout go in now, A, and B, I want to know why only a larger house might have a granny unit. Why can't you put a granny unit with a smaller house and therefore not need quite such a large lot? And not being a realtor, I don't know the answer to that. You probably know a lot better than I do.
It's a question of area coverage of a lot in terms of a secondary unit, 600 to 700 square feet, and then you have 1,600 square foot, so now you have 2,400 square feet of building on a 4,000 square foot lot. See, and so now you got the building code that says the maximum lot coverage can't exceed 40%. So
are that many of the lots actually only 4,000 square feet?
No, it's just a few. I think there's about 5 of them that are down in that area.
Yeah, but my question is why can't you put a smaller house with a granny unit instead of always having a large house with a granny unit? That's more of a curiosity thing. It's not really anything to do with the project.
We just said the 40% coverage rule.
Yeah.
The lot coverage. And
that would have to do with the total lot size. But here where you might have planned on putting a large house because you have a large backyard, but suddenly if you're putting in a roundabout, you've got a smaller backyard.
Well, that's something that's just coming up right now based on the traffic studies.
Yeah.
Things we got approved before, that wasn't not an issue, so.
It's probably going to be necessary because of traffic. This roundabout, I think, is pretty important to the project. And not that I think you should have to build the whole thing. Again, same with streetlights and stuff. You're already doing a lot to improve the street that probably should have been done by a previous project or 2 previous projects. But still, while the project is underway is the only time that we have the opportunity
and
to do this.
The roundabout with the bulge out there happens to occur on lots 4 and 5, which has the greatest depth of all the lots in the subdivision. So it really is not going to affect too much the overall design capabilities of those lots, because we're only talking about 16 to 17 feet in the bulge there.
Well, good. Then let's put it in the conditions of approval that this actually has to be, the outer portions of it actually have to be constructed the way that it's designed with the sidewalk coming in onto those lots. Does that help? I mean, not to ask him to build the entire roundabout, but at least to prepare the street for the roundabout.
Well, I don't feel good about picking on the applicant here, but the fact of this matter is that Creek Bridge is not going to have to participate in this roundabout. And I think the most sensible way to do these things in the future is to have the first developer build it and put assessments on the surrounding properties so that when they're developed, they can repay what he's already put out, because Creek Bridge is going to skate on this one.
Except Creek Bridge built the street that's going to allow the people to go out another way besides 3rd Street. So they did contribute somewhere.
Yeah, but that helped them.
Yeah.
It gave them another exit out of the subdivision.
So, during our business council meeting, we talked about the San Juan Inn project that was going out there, which was 1,100 units. And their impact study said that there would be 400 cars traveling within those 1,100 units per day. Now, if we're kind of using that same math, we're looking at anywhere from 8 to 16 cars traveling through 27 units a day. I mean, is this enough impact to really put, a big area to work?
I think it's more than that. I'm not sure it really compares with the...
Even if it was doubled, say each car, we're talking 54 cars a day.
Yeah, it's more like that, I think.
Even at 54 cars a day, if every unit is driving twice, that's...
I think in the overall
over
perspective
a 24-hour period.
The widening of 3rd Street between this boundary and North Street is going to give you 2 lanes and parking on the south side. It's going to be much better than what it is. We're also going to widen 3rd Street between this boundary up to the intersection And it's not going to be what it is now. It's going to be a full 42-foot face of curb to face of curb in front of the old daycare center, all the way up to the intersection. And then with this minor bulge there, and then the 2/3 of the 3rd Street all the way down to the sewer treatment plant, that's going to be very open. So this whole intersection of Donner and 3rd Street is going to be expanded significantly. It will probably have 85% of the pavement down that will facilitate a roundabout once it gets going.
Right, but that's if we do go ahead and do the bulge. That's all I'm asking for, is that we go ahead and do the bulge and not just have it, as this says, a discussion item, basically.
Well,
It
the
doesn't.
condition of approval says is that we will give the applicant credit for their improvements to facilitate and accommodate that. So if they go through and then do this, then they're going to get credit for it.
Right.
If they don't, then I'm going to have a fair share where they'll put the money up to do it. And it stands to reason when we get into construction, the economy is that they're going to say, well, why don't we just put this thing in right now? And then we don't have to come up with a fair share. And the conditions give them that option. It's up to them to decide, no, we don't want to, and we'll put it into a curvilinear alignment, or we'll do the bulge. They're going to get credit if they put the bulge in.
What's the circumference size we need for a roundabout?
Well, this is a small circumference in the sense is that the internal is only a 27-foot diameter, 12-foot lane, and an 8-foot parking. So it's a very small residential roundabout. It's not something that we would consider on the Alameda or on Monterey and McCollum.
It's a single lane roundabout.
It's a single lane, yeah, right. Very small.
Yeah, I guess I just like the idea better of having in here that we are going to do that, because the way you're talking about it, Roger, if we did decide to do it later and it wasn't done initially, then you're dealing with the homeowner of that property. You're not dealing with a developer. That's why I prefer to have it in writing that we would like to have that bulb out so that we can put in a future.
Well, let's ask him. What do you think?
I want to see the plan. I know Roger's looking at the plan. I'm having trouble visualizing how much.
You haven't seen the conceptual roundabout?
No. The roundabout down at the end, but not at the Donner. You're talking about Donner?
Yeah.
Donner and 3rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in.
The thing of it is, we didn't deal with this when Creek Bridge came in. And if we just plan a solution but don't implement it, when the preschool property develops, they're not going to be able to afford to build it. And if Christopher never builds, then it never gets done. We're just kicking the can down the road, you know? It should have been dealt with when Creek Bridge came in.
But it wasn't, so what are we going to do now?
Well, there were some other things that Creek Bridge should have done that
But they weren't.
our city manager at the time didn't implement, and they didn't get done.
Yeah, but we can't undo history.
No, I know that, but that's why I'm saying I think we need to deal with this issue now.
I agree.
Hey, Roger, on 3rd Street, where does, just in your thoughts, where does the Christopher property, does it tie into 3rd at all?
At the end, yes.
Okay. And they'll be-
Right there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I
It'll be
mean,
going out here.
But if it,
Right.
but what Rick's saying is if it never happens, then we never finish the roundabout.
They're going to tie in at Donner, or they're going to tie in down at the sewer?
Down here.
down here.
Well, you know what they'll say then. We don't have anything to do with that.
Turn off the sewer.
The conditions of approval.
That's, you can say they don't have it, and then we can say, yes, you do.
Well, I agree. I think we ought to,
Steve, did you take a look at that?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of bulging it out. It won't affect lots 4 and 5 that much in terms of overall total square footage. But by curving the bulge out, then it sets the stage for the turnaround in the future. And then you'd never have to remove the sidewalk after that. And it, yeah, yeah.
Well, let's put it in then. He just agreed to it.
Yeah.
And while you're being so agreeable, there's a brush pile I hear on the property that you might want to get rid of.
Put it in the roundabout.
Cutting sidewalk runs about $15 a foot.
I just think that's a lot of.
And he's got curb and gutter here, and so it's just going to add probably another 15 feet to it. So it's no more than maybe $1,000.
I mean, I've seen them. They're
Yeah.
it's just paint on the asphalt.
Yeah.
And then
Signs.
if we can't find some other way to finish it, we'll go to the Air Resources Board and see if they want to help us finish our partially built roundabout someday.
Or maybe Caltrans would want to do it. They like it
Oh,
so
yeah,
much.
right. Go on.
As long as we keep it at 55.
Yeah.
Roger, just, what, the in lieu fees, what is that per?
Well, that's a complicated formula where you have to determine the in lieu fees as it relates to the market, you know.
Well, I guess, I mean, and bouncing off what Rick was saying, I mean, if you got in lieu fees, ballpark, what would you bring in on 27 homes? And then if you had that money, not knowing the amount, I don't know if it's 100,000, 200,000 for 27. What are you gonna build for that?
No, the in lieu fees is one where you promote affordable housing.
Right.
You offset some of the cost of development of the affordable housing, or you address blighted conditions to support affordable housing.
So you could address blighted conditions, you wouldn't have to, as Rick said, build a ghetto. And also, if you're going to put in some of these granny units, there may not be any in lieu fees, correct?
Yeah, there's the current inclusionary housing, this is 1 in 5, and so 20% has to be the affordable index.
And so if they can't meet that, that's where you get the
And if you
in lieu.
can create 4 or 5 granny units, then you offset part of that.
As long as the homeowner doesn't live in them.
Well, that's a condition that Creek Bridge there. We're not advising that same condition to be on this.
It was a joke.
I see.
My last
No, I mean,
question,
the
one of my
proposal was
last.
a joke.
Water.
Who's going to go check it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a problem with this project, but water's a big issue, and we need to get our water issue resolved with some, where it's resolved. New wells online, cleared by the state before, I mean, you could maybe go to a point where if you wanted to put the improvements in, but I feel that the water situation, in this big a project, needs to be resolved before like I said, I don't have a problem with it.
What is your timeline?
Yeah, I mean,
It's still hard to say. It's
A year?
market driven, it's permit driven, there's a lot of moving parts still. We would hope to be building next year.
Isn't what we're counting on here, though, is before the units are occupied, we'll have the problem solved, not before they're necessarily
I just don't want to.
approved.
I don't mind approving it, but I feel that our water situation at some point before they get occupied or they break ground.
It absolutely has to be. They can't be occupied
Because I know
until
there's other
it's
stuff down the
solved.
pipeline, but we have to resolve that issue where,
We would be
future,
reluctant to build without the assurances that
yeah,
the
well,
water-
future
Yeah.
councils don't have to come back and deal with it, that we have some new wells online and,
Yeah, the demand of this subdivision is only 8,100 gallons per day, for the 27 lots based on the demand of a
I guess I
typical.
understand that, but
It's about
it's,
2.2%.
unless we get signed off on the nitrates and, that we know that the water that's going out to the homes,
Which is
we're not
gonna
going to have an
affect-
issue, because right now we're just, we're living day by day. I'm just, and I would hope you'd break ground in the next 90 days or 120, because the market's good. But it's the water that, and there's been homes in town that have not been funded by lenders because of the water situation.
Well, that's financial, that has
Well, no,
nothing to
but
do with
that-
their
but-
production.
No, I know
Our
that, but what I'm
production-
saying is that the lender,
Yeah, that's,
I mean, one realtor had to go take a sample and get it cleared, but they got wind of the water problem of the nitrates, and it put a stop on the funding of the loan. But all I'm saying is, I mean, if we can...
Production-wise, we have the capacity to produce water.
Oh, yeah.
It's the quality that...
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, I mean, it's even better for you guys. I mean, you come in and, well, we got a nitrate problem, you know, we want to sell this home for this price. I mean, you'd want to see it resolved along with all of us, you know, so you don't have that issue. But I don't have any other...
Did we already take public comment?
We didn't.
Done with me?
Yeah.
Any other questions? That's a loaded question.
But,
Until we figure out something else.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we need...
I move
Okay.
to approve.
Subject to, you wanted to change the condition for
Yes, with
the
the-
roundabout?
With the changes,
You want to first adopt
Res-
resolution.
The resolution,
Mitigated negative declaration. Resolution of the council approving a mitigated negative declaration for the D'Ambrosio revised plan unit development permit for assessing parcel numbers. That's the first resolution, before you take action on the approval of the
Okay.
project itself.
And that
Both of
I
those
guess that's this here.
It's 5A1.
And the next resolution number?
This resolution is 2014-30, and the approval of PUD is 31.
And that would be a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the mitigated negative declaration of the D'Ambrosio revised plan unit development permit for assessor parcel number 002-026-11 and 1112.
Okay,
You got that, Jolene? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
that's as stated.
Okay.
Move.
Is there a, and that's on the approving the mitigated negative deck, right? George, okay.
Yeah.
Did I have a second?
A second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'll take a roll call vote on that, please.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, need a motion for that.
And adopt resolution 2014-31,
31.
approving the PUD permit and vested tentative map, and that would be with changes, correct?
And that would
That's
be-
where the changes come in?
What changes are we making?
The
Applicant
The
shall...
the revised, and the applicant shall,
Condition 19 was the applicant shall install a modified speed bump or an alternate subject to the approval of the city manager on Church Street, approximately 250 feet south of the intersection with 3rd Street. It has been changed.
And
the
28.
second change would be is that the applicant shall improve the roundabout intersection at the alignment at the intersection of Donner and 3rd Street.
or improve and prepare for roundabout?
No, just say,
Well, that's it.
improve the alignment for the roundabout. And that means the curb and gutter sidewalk as well as the paving.
Okay.
Does that mean it's...
Oh, and can we add
put in? The roundabout would be put in?
It's that it will be going in.
It will be going in, yes.
Right, and then we can, you know...
Yeah,
to
this,
be finished.
it'll be all prepared so that,
But finish.
No.
no, Not finished.
Not finished, no.
Curb
I-
and gutter.
I hesitate to ask him to finish something that is affecting so many other, both previous and potential projects.
He will have the, he
but-
will,
Creek
yeah.
Bridge have an HOA?
But I also hesitate to not make sure that we don't have to deal with a property owner working into their backyard to change the sidewalk alignment later on.
The curb gutter sidewalk, as well as the pavement, will have the alignment for the roundabout. What will be missing would be the striping, the paint, and the interior circular diamond, or, I don't know. And that can be painted on later, as well as a raised curb, you know.
Not as attractive, but it could be
Yeah.
effective, yeah. And then can we add on number 6, south to easterly property line?
Yes, and that was the other condition, is the articulated stucco fence on the west and southwesterly property line of the project. Yeah.
Okay. Those are the only changes I'm aware of.
Anybody else
Was
have?
there anything else?
I can't support that.
You want the roundabout completed?
I want the roundabout completed, and I want no inclusionary fees. Otherwise, I won't support it. And I'll probably be the only one, so.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's no support, then, you know, go ahead and vote, but I'm just letting you know.
You know, I'll go with Rick on the one on the roundabout. I'd like to just see it get done because I have a feeling that it's, the rest of the other project's coming. But if it doesn't come, it's done. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Rick was sitting up here, you know, people go away and it never gets done. So I'd want to see that roundabout down, and then, you know what, if another developer comes in,
would you accept Roger's example of simply painting it on instead
I
of
guess
doing the
that's
whole
finishing
raised?
it. I don't know.
That's all it's going to be anyway, is
The
paint signs.
statue in the center is
just
probably the
finish
only
it.
thing that's going to be different than
Yeah.
changing it and finishing it. I think we should finish it.
I mean, just like you
We
said,
got too many
How many
unfinished
lots do
things.
we have in Creek Bridge? Anybody know?
How many units?
Lots.
35.
35? So this is 27 lots, 35, you know. But this is a sizable project.
No, I think we should finish the roundabout, you know, just get it done.
Probably, it wouldn't really take that much more to
It'd be
do
nice
it
to finish something.
versus just, I mean, the way we were talking.
So rather than all
You're
this-
gonna do the curb and gutter and sidewalk anyways, and you're only talking
But
about.
just on their side, we weren't asking him to do the whole other side. There's,
Yeah, but he could place liens, as I understand it, against the surrounding property owners, so that when they develop, they would have to reimburse him.
It's kind of like a good neighbor thing when you build new fence so both sides, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
because it will,
There is a mechanism where if the owner does the full intersection, you can make the condition that the applicant will enter into a reimbursable agreement. Those reimbursable agreements are for 15 or 20 years. It's up to the city to decide that. And any property within that area that develops pays into it, and then the developer is reimbursed. They call those reimbursable agreements for oversizing or improvements beyond the what's necessary for that subdivision.
I'd like to see that go through.
would you be amenable to rewriting 28
Yeah,
to complete the roundabout?
I would say is the applicant shall install the roundabout
Is there a
intersection
gutter in here?
and enter into a reimbursable agreement for the
Sidewalk,
excess
curb and gutter all
cost.
the way down.
So he really doesn't have to do anything.
I don't curb and gutter there.
If you look at, I just was asking him the question, on the, I guess you'd call it the north side of 3rd Street and Donner Street, where they intersect, that curb and gutter is already there, right?
All that,
And
from
sidewalk?
Lopez's, that's all there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
it's all there.
So he doesn't have to do anything
He doesn't have to do anything on the north
that-
side.
On that side of the street. All he has to do is,
3/4.
yeah. Yeah, because at first I was thinking he had to do the whole, the
Well,
whole
there's-
thing, but
There's the city land
it's already there.
by the park, by
Yeah.
the Creek Bridge Park. That corner is city. We'd have to pay for that or somebody to finish it.
This part right here, is that what?
It's
The
by the
corner,
park.
yeah.
Yeah, it's city land, but the curb and gutter comes out, so you'd have to cut into that city land and put a curb gutter there.
You kind of
And
have to
sidewalk?
flip the.
Do we need to put anything about the city being amenable to painted rather than raised center? Or is that understood?
I think roundabouts are always just painted on and a lot of
I've
signage.
never seen one that was just painted on.
No?
I've always seen them raised in the center, but they use them for decorative and for signs and all sorts
Oh,
of
you
things.
mean the very center?
But
It's
what
It's not a. it's
what
not a-
Roger mentioned
it's
is
not a
that you
vertical
could
face
just,
curb, it's a rolled curb, where if the tires do go up, it kind of goes up on it and then goes down.
yeah. Yeah, but what Roger was saying, that maybe we could just paint it, so it'd be a little less cost, and at some point, if we get some kind of grant to put something pretty in the middle, we could.
Okay, so what I'm gathering, the roundabout, we're all basically to have the developer complete it.
Yeah, the
Correct.
applicant shall
Okay.
install a roundabout and then enter into a reimbursable agreement.
Okay, and then the other one, the Rick was,
The in lieu, I don't mind the in lieu fees, because hopefully the granny units are going to take care of it anyway.
You can't build granny units because the lots are too narrow to get a driveway between the building and the property line.
You have to have a
build-
driveway
Well, I
for
thought he said
them?
there
You
was gonna
can't
be
build
some.
granny units. And then Roger explained that it provides too much floor area ratio?
Right.
On all the
Per
lots? I thought some of the lots could be done.
A few of them can be done, on the corner lots.
So there will be some in lieu fees. I guess I don't really have a problem with in lieu fees, especially because Roger explained it doesn't have to go to actually building houses. It could go to improving certain areas.
Yeah.
And we have plenty of those. Blighted areas, you said?
We don't have a housing authority, so you're not going to build houses, and your option for funding in lieu fees is to create incentives for affordable housing. And the incentives is that you can earmark that for helping developers do street improvements, address blighted conditions where you can put sidewalk in areas that create the environment so that the people will rebuild in that area. So there's a variety of things that you can do to encourage affordable housing to upgrade.
Do we have any money in that fund now?
No, there's not, because we don't have a housing authority, and I think the Musatelli subdivision, they have a provision there where when they convert theirs to condo, then they will start paying in lieu fees into that account.
That would be the first one.
Yeah, that'd be the first one.
Would we need a housing authority to make use of that money, or would it?
If you want to get into building homes and subventing and loaning money for affordable housing, then you're going to need a housing authority.
But not if you just want to use it for improving blighted areas.
Blighted areas, yeah.
I mean, you drive around town, you see areas where there's no sidewalk, no curbs,
Yeah, exactly.
and we're going to have money in a fund that we don't have a housing authority to spend the money on those projects.
No, we would be able to spend it, but not on
For
houses.
curbs and sidewalks. and
We
blighted
would be
conditions,
able to spend it
but
for
not
blighted areas.
Housing, construction of
Not for
housing
housing
and loans.
construction,
Yeah.
okay, I see.
It's
So-
like even in Hollister, they call in South County, out of Santa Clara, to do their housing developments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's always been the problem here is where would you put a project like that?
You wouldn't. You would use it for blighted areas because we have plenty of those.
Well, we do.
Okay, so back to, I've made a motion
Okay, let me just get it.
2014-31
I just wanna
with
get it.
changes?
I just want to, we got I think we're all on board on the roundabout that's going to be completed. Now, consensus on the in lieu fees that Rick,
I think we just explained it
Well,
sufficiently to Rick so that it can be
Yeah, I
used.
think I can go with that.
for
okay, I
blight.
don't have a problem with it. I just wanted to make sure that we were good with that and then the roundabout, okay. You got a motion on that?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2014-31, approving the PUD permit and vested tentative map with changes to the,
Item 6, 19, and 28.
thank you.
Right. Have a second?
There's too many pages, I can't ever
second.
find the right page.
Okay, I have a second for Councilman Bach. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimous.
Okay. 5B, consider accepting the draft 2035 general plan update. Consider resolution 2014, the member accepting the 2035 draft general plan. Roger, I don't know, or Matt?
Matt, do you want to take this, or, this is kind of just a follow-up of accepting the proposed draft. The Planning Commission reviewed this, and they accepted the draft and with some modifications that they did, and they are recommending to you through their resolution to accept the draft, and that would initiate the environmental process to go forward with the contract that you entered with the Cal Poly Association. And Matt, if you want to add anything?
No, I think 6 or 7 people gave me long lists of comments, which I've cataloged, and there are some small changes that we can still make moving forward after this, as well as a couple individuals had some really sort of substantial comments about things they wanted included based on the 98 plan, which is basically a background report and a general plan smushed together. And ours is, this version is going to be, there will be a supplemental document that's the background report, that's the very wordy, poetic, sort of descriptive one. And then the general plan itself, which will be more of a reference document, so people can look quickly to find information. And so I'm going to work with those people a little bit more on, and then, we can have more public hearings about those changes in the future, so.
Okay. Are there any speaker cards when I open the?
Public hearing.
Yeah, public hearing.
There are no speaker cards.
Hey, okay, I'll close it. I'll bring it back.
Well, based on what we heard at the community center and what Matt's telling us about written comments that people have made and talked to you about, and you explained that there would be a supplemental document and a document, rather than,
Which we've already
what'd you say,
produced.
smushed together like they used to be?
There was a background report produced. That was what the first entire 3 months of our program was compiling all that background data into a report, and just not a lot of people have looked at it. So a lot of the information that people were saying in their comments were about things that were actually in the background report, just not in the general plans. So I need to speak with those people a little further to see if they've actually read that background document, and I think we can work together to make that a little bit more of the really descriptive sense of place document, and then the plan itself will be more of a functional, reference document. So, yeah.
Easier to read instead of having all of.
Well, because it would be probably a 1,000-page document if we put them both together, and I think that's a little overwhelming for anyone. So, yeah, and general plan is not something you read for fun generally. So, yeah.
Well, I thought the professor did an excellent job of presenting it at the community center, and I was happy with the draft. As far as drafts go, I'm certainly willing to accept it. I do have one question for the lawyer, just from the last, was that the last meeting when we decided to go with Cal Poly for the EIR?
Yes.
And it says subject, I noted subject to approval by county council. County council? Council, not county. Have you had a chance to go over that?
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it yet, so it hasn't been presented to you
I haven't seen
yet. Do we know when we will expect the EIR to go to council to look at?
Well, no, wait, we
I mean,
approved the agreement
Yeah.
with Cal Poly.
Do you mean the actual EIR itself?
But I noted that it was subject to approval by council.
Well, I saw the agreement, and it was an agreement.
Okay, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's been done.
Yeah, not the EIR itself, the
No, no, no,
agreement,
that's-
sorry.
That's to be done.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's all done.
Right.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, I need a motion and a second to adopt
Go
these.
ahead, you're good at it.
I'm good
Whoever
at
wants
it.
to do it.
Better than me.
Come on, Robert, your turn.
Is it number 32?
Yes, resolution 2014-32.
Okay, I need somebody to give me somebody jump up.
I'll second.
No, I didn't hear a first. I need a,
Resolution 2104.
Yeah, it's 2014, I think.
Yeah, let's try 2014. And you said that was number
32.
32. A resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista accepting the draft 2035 general plan for the preparation of an environmental impact report.
Robert, you second it?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote, then.
Councilmember Cosio?
Aye.
Councilmember Bott?
Aye.
Councilmember Edge?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, 6, action item. 6A, consider an ordinance rescinding ordinance 2014-01, which amends section 11-04-110 and chapter 11-29 of the municipal code to modify provisions for the design, architectural review of retail businesses, residential businesses, and visitors accommodations within the city, and readopt municipal code provision rescinding by ordinance 2014-01, re-establishing limits on the approval of large-scale retail businesses, finally the visitor accommodations, and restaurant businesses. Roger, I guess, do you have anything to say?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the subject is to rescind the ordinance 2014-01. It affects citywide and it'll affect all commercial and mixed-use zones. Basically, the ordinance was adopted by the city council back in March of 2014, with recommendations from the planning commission. Shortly thereafter, a lawsuit was filed against the action of the city council on June 13, 2014, stipulating 6 causes of actions, 5 of which relate to CEQA and planning functions, and the 6th was injunction relief. The staff and legal counsel looked at and evaluated the lawsuit and determined that the most cost-effective way to defend the ordinance would be is to rescind it and go back to the original ordinance. And this way here we would save considerable time and expenditure of defending it in court over the next 6 to 9 months at a cost of a lot of dollars that the city preciously needs for other issues that are more pressing. And so we recommend that the staff, you receive our report, evaluate the alternates, and consider other opinions, and rescind ordinance 2014-01 and readopt the original ordinance, which was 2007-04. Excuse me.
Okay, thanks. Council? Rick?
Does this pretty much, this and the fact that the project was dropped and is being resubmitted, do these two things pretty much make the lawsuit
Lawsuit was
pointless?
predicated, the lawsuit was predicated on the use of the new ordinance in making the project approval. And the objection was that there was inadequate environmental review. And as it turns out, the elements of the new ordinance that was adopted in March were necessary to, at least the developer in the city, in the opinion of the council and city manager, to affect or to adopt the project. Oops, sorry. And so as Roger said, the notion was to rescind and return to the original ordinance, which was not objectionable to the, at least in the reading the four corners of the lawsuit, which was not objectionable to the people who brought the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. And so the idea is to readopt and reconsider the project in turn with the design review being handled pursuant to the previous ordinance.
And I think what George is saying is, by you rescinding the ordinance, it will really make the lawsuit against that ordinance mute because it no longer exists, and we'll go back to the original one.
Right. Doesn't guarantee there won't continue to be objection to the project itself, but as to the use of the ordinance, of the new ordinance in affecting the approval of the project, that goes away.
Now, the original project has been dropped by the applicant, right? And he's resubmitting and going through the process to get another approval, right?
No, the appeal is still pending on the Arco convenience store and drive-through restaurant. This lawsuit...
Not drive-through.
Well, it was a quick service, excuse me, yeah. And the Planning Commission that approved the project was out without the drive-through. That conformed to the old provisions of 2007-04 ordinance. The appeal is still pending, but the City Council, you send it back to us to say, redo the necessary reports, recirculate it for the 30 days, and bring it back to us with the proper findings and the environmental issues to where you can make the decision of either denying the appeal, reinforcing the appeal, or modifying the conditions.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now, the old ordinance, 11-04-110, that was created by the original ordinance 2007-04, says that large-scale retail business formula, retail or restaurant businesses, and formula visitors accommodations, and it says, A, the following findings shall be required: that the business offers merchandise and or services that serve the unmet needs of the population. So when you bring this back for the Arco service station, you will have to make findings for unmet needs to the population. The business, although the formula business may have other locations throughout this country, state or region, the business will complement and enhance the character of the city. You'll make that findings. Both the exterior and interior appearance and presentation of the business is compatible with the existing sale and development, distinct architectural and pedestrian orientation of the town character, and result in the enhancement and the look and feel and character of the surrounding area. You'll make that finding. Fourth is sign shall conform to the city side standards and design guidelines. The Planning Commission approved the subdivision without signs, that they have to come back to the Planning Commission for sign approval, subject to the sign standards and design guidelines. And the fifth is drive-through food establishments shall be prohibited. The Planning Commission recommended to you there would be no drive-through restaurants approval. And the final environmental document that's being prepared eliminates the drive-through provision.
Any other comment before I open it up to public comment?
Well, let's hear the public first.
Okay. Linda, any speaker cards?
Speaker cards, Linda?
This is 03. I was just looking at the last paragraph of the proposed ordinance, and it appears a little confused. It says ordinance 2014-01 was adopted on March 18th, 2014, and the city desires to rescind that ordinance and return to that which was adopted in 2007 and was the status quo of the city until its rescission on March 18th of 2014. In the previous sentence says that it was adopted March 18th, 2014, and in the next sentence it says it was rescinded March 18th.
Right, it's referring to two different ordinances. One was adopted, one was rescinded. And that section is in there to demonstrate that there was no project under CEQA. That is, it's returning to the status quo. 1401 was adopted, and it rescinded an ordinance which was adopted in 2007.
I'm still confused, but I guess it doesn't matter if everybody else knows what they're doing. It's 03, it's 2014-03 is the ordinance number.
Is it 03?
The recycling was 02, and that was adopted in the consent, so this is 03.
Kevin, do we have any speaker cards?
I have one of John McCormick.
There's more than that.
John McCormick.
Okay.
My name is John McCormick. I am a commercial real estate broker. I want to make clear that my statements here have only my sentiments and nothing to do with clients that I represent here in town. I passed along this article to the city a month or so ago. It was in the Wall Street Journal. It's called The Way Up, and it's subtitled Mobility in America. And it talks about this author's, Miss Jacoby, and her experience in trying to deal with bringing people up into the middle class in our modern society and our modern economy. And she talks about 3 ways that people can move into the middle class. And that's as much because there's only people over the age of 25, only 30% of those people have a college degree. So you've got 8% that don't graduate from high school, and the rest of them have a high school degree. And she talks about 3 ways that people can become middle-class citizens, contributors to our society. One is people that become apprentices and training and become skilled welders or firemen or EMTs, things like that, as a way to become self-sufficient in our society. Second way she talks about is nursing and Medicare, where you don't need a graduate degree. You can become an RN at a community college and work your way up into the middle class. The third is through franchising. And I can tell you my own experiences. I was an engineer. I became a franchisee, and I had a very successful retail career. The article talks about several examples of people who became quite successful by being franchisees, by working in franchise stores. In fact, McDonald's has, and I'm not selling McDonald's here, but McDonald's, their owner-operators, 60% of them started as part-time workers in their businesses. That's an enormous percentage of people that have become extremely successful. Some in the article talks about one guy, he also was coincidentally an engineer who became a worker and learned the business and he owns 20 stores. And these are the kind of people that we want to encourage in our modern society to become what is a community like this. This is not a community where you're expecting PhDs here. This is a community that is middle class, and I'm hoping that in your further discussions with what is suitable, that just because it's a franchise or just because it's a common business who has the benefit of an organization behind it, that you don't deny these people an opportunity to become contributing parts of our society.
Yeah, John, I got a red light went off. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody want the article, give me the email and I will email you the article.
Okay. Any other speaker cards?
Yes, Elaine Reyna.
Thank you, I'm Elaine Reyna. I'm for Enterprise. I owned a business in town for 20 years. Worked 7 days a week with my husband Sonny. I live across from the San Juan Inn, which is owned by Mr. Leal now. I would love it if every one of you on this council would sit or stand at the corner where the ARCO wants to go in, stand there any time of the day and watch the traffic come flying down there. I've nearly been taken out twice this close by the semis, and they come down and they beat each other to try to converge in that one lane. It is massacre. You see this? I was a medic in the Korean War. Don't let something like this happen. You're going to have all kinds of mayhem, all kinds of accidents. We've already had so many. And when the people fly down from the San Juan Canyon and try to beat it to get onto the freeway, none of you know, unless you have been on that corner. Take only 10 minutes and count how many semis and cars are racing through. And on the way back from the VA, Sonny and I'm just trying to turn in, and that was happened about 4:30. I know now I have to go to the next way down by Diaz and come back to my house. I can't turn in that way because I was rear-ended and the person was on the horn. I am absolutely, I'm telling you ahead of time, this is dangerous. Don't do it. Put that article somewhere else. If you want an article, go somewhere else in town. I'm for Enterprise. Don't put it here. You're asking for mayhem. Absolute mayhem. Thank you for listening to me.
Are there any other speaker cards?
No.
Is there anybody in the public, before I close the public hearing, who'd like to address this issue?
Thanks, Richard Ponce, 94th Street. I'm sure that the trucks and the traffic don't slow down for Mr. Leal. Anyway, we're on our way to have a balanced community here. We have a lot of projects, housing projects coming along. We're going to become more so a bedroom community. We're losing the opportunity. We're going to lose the opportunity to have the retail dollars that we can get with new businesses coming into town. We're going to have the people, but we're going to have no businesses to take advantage of the sales taxes from these new people that are coming into these new homes. It's too bad that people that don't get involved in the community from the get-go have stopped San Juan, have set San Juan back quite a few years. We will prevail. We will get back on our feet and we'll get it straightened out, but it's a setback. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to address the council? Seeing none, I'll close it, public hearing, and bring it back for discussion. Anybody?
I'll tell you, I live on Mission Vineyard there, and I do travel that intersection. And being on the fire department for the last 10 years, I've responded to numerous calls to that intersection. I think by whatever you put in there, it's gonna cause a problem. This problem is starting at the top of the hill. We need to work on the top of the hill first, okay? We need to get as much, impact onto this, but I don't think just because whatever business we're going to put in there is it's going to cause the chaos that it might just slow it down. It may cure it. On both directions, we need to work on that. My wife was actually involved in an accident last week there, And it was actually a car that came out of San Juan into the intersection. It all happened from the north and south end of it, not the east and west of the freeway. I don't really think there's any cure at this time for that, but you know, we need to do something with it. I do agree with you on that.
Any other thoughts?
Basically, we're not talking about the ARCO station. We're
Yeah.
talking about this ordinance that was passed by us, and now we have to rescind it because it's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend it. So I guess the people that brought the lawsuit will be satisfied. I hope they'll be satisfied, but we'll go back to 2007-4, whatever, yeah, 4. And then if it's the desire of the council, we can start over again and see if we want to address the formula business ordinance so that, and I'm upset because somebody can spend a few dollars and file a lawsuit, and I mean, if we decided to defend this, it's going to cost us a lot of money, and it could go on forever. You guys have seen this. We appeal, they appeal, we appeal. It would break the city. We've got a lot better things to do with our money. Number one, we have solve our water problem. You know? And basically, I mean, you know, you can talk about whatever's going to go on that corner, but that has nothing to do with what we're doing right here. Right. And I would be more than happy, well, not more than happy, but follow the direction of the Planning Commission.
Yeah, I ran for city council almost 4 years ago because I wanted to see the city go forward, not backward. So it makes me very unhappy to have to do this. But the other reason I ran for city council was because I was so unhappy that the city was squandering so much money, and I wanted to try to stop it. And so I cannot see squandering money on this lawsuit. And I wrote down a few thoughts. I'm just going to read them real quickly. There are a few people who want this city to rescind an ordinance that would have allowed for a more democratic, fair process for deciding what businesses are allowed to come to our city. If we go back to the 2007-04 ordinance, the decision of which businesses met an unmet need of the city will rest solely with the city council. Because the city does not want to get into a protracted lawsuit that will cost the citizens of this city a great deal of money that could be better spent on solving our water crisis, I recommend we rescind the ordinance 2014-01. That would have taken away the power from the council to determine an unmet need of the city and put that decision through a more fair and democratic process to say what fits into our city, as well as include stronger guidelines for architectural requirements. This council is one of the most fiscally responsible councils this city has had in years. And yet, when we try to bring money into the city to pay for better water, better streets, and other advantages to the general public, a small faction of people takes action that will cost this city valuable assets. When I say that I support rescinding Ordinance 2014-01 and therefore reinstating Ordinance 2007-04, I want to make it very clear that this is purely a fiscally responsible decision. I do not base my decision on the belief that Ordinance 2014-01 had any faults, or that Ordinance 2007-04 is a better ordinance. Contrarily, I believe 2007-04 does this city no good.
Okay. Thank you. Any other? No, before Okay, I'll just hold my comments. I just need a motion for somebody to adopt this?
We'll be introducing this ordinance.
Yeah, and somebody to introduce it.
Move to introduce.
Okay, have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Fox,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
That's something we wanted to do.
Okay, 6C, annexation. Consider resolution and proceeding for the annexation of public, inclusive public lands. Roger?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, this resolution here is for initiating the proceedings for the city to annex public and quasi-public property through a categorical exempt. As you will recall, our well number 3 site lies in the county. It is not in the city. And we are about to commence on some construction activities, which would require us to solicit and obtain intergovernmental permits to construct through the county of San Benito. By annexing it, this will put the property inside the city limits and therefore eliminate duplication of intergovernmental services through the county. In addition, the reservoir that was constructed as part of the 208 infrastructure project was purchased from Harvey Island, and that land lies within the county, and it has never been annexed. And we are currently paying property tax for that. So by annexing this will eliminate the property tax revenues that have to be paid to the county for that purpose. The third portion is a quasi-public, and that is that the San Juan Cemetery, 1/3 of the westerly boundary, lies within the San Benito County jurisdiction and 2/3 in the city. It is serviced through our water system and a reclaimed water system, and it stands to reason that it should be annexed into the city limits so that we can support that service. Those are the 3 projects that this resolution initiates and finds that they are categorically exempt under the CEQA guidelines, and the staff is recommending that the council adopt this resolution 2014-34.
George?
I'm showing 33.
33?
Yeah, 33.
George, should I abstain from this because I'm on the cemetery board?
You're in the sanitary board.
Cemetery.
Cemetery?
Yeah, he should
Do you receive any compensation?
No.
Being on the, no.
It's just like up here, I get the big bucks.
Something free later. No, as a member of the board, you don't receive any compensation.
Right.
Okay. And you don't own any property within 500 feet of any of these?
No.
Okay. Is the cemetery district an applicant here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, yes, if you've determined as a member of the cemetery board to forward this application to the city and then on to LAFCO, yeah, it would be a good idea to accept him.
Got out of another vote.
Is there anybody from the public that'd like to speak on this? Okay. Okay, any further discussion? I'll just need a-
George, we won't get sued by any acorns doing this, will we?
Say what?
We won't get
Tanya,
sued
do you
by
wanna-
any acorns for doing this?
Oh, okay. It's all right.
Acorns?
That's what we call the acorn.
My name's Todd Dubois. I have a house on 7th Street, and I came tonight because we were talking about annexations, and I didn't know quite what the subject matter was.
His item will be on the next item. Your item will be on the next item.
Tonight? Or?
Tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get through this one.
Next time.
Okay. Okay. There's nobody, I'm going to close public hearing for this item. Now, I'll bring it back. Is there any further discussion? before-
Everybody got the update that it was well 3, not well 2?
Right.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I had. I have no problem with the city annexing property that appears by the lines and everything else that it should have been in the city already. They're public or quasi-public lands that we should have.
So you're making a motion. Is that number 34?
33.
33?
If nobody else has any comments, sure, I'll make a motion.
I don't have any.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember, Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore,
Aye.
and Councilmember Bach has recused himself. So all members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the negative passes 4-1. Edge, Cosio, Lund, Moore in favor, and Bach recusing himself.
Okay. Next, C, which is 6. C, to consider a petition for annexation of new territory. Yeah.
You might note that the recusal was for reasons other than a financial conflict of interest.
Will do.
All right.
Okay, Roger, I'm on that. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the second part of the annexation is to consider the petitions for annexation of new territories. We've identified 4 properties that are requesting annexations. These properties here are not public or quasi, and so they have to go through the environmental process. And let me just kind of read. Since we've adopted our tax sharing agreement, now it opens the door for annexation. The first one is Elaine Reyna. Her house is bisected. Half of it is in the city and half of it is in the county. She's requesting that that be annexed, and the services for existing sewer and water, police and fire are there, and the request is to be annexed as mixed use. The second is the owner is the McDonald King Dominguez. This is an assessor parcel, an 18-acre. Its zone classification is industrial agricultural business. It will be there. The services to the property are currently being farmed. The property is currently being farmed, and the annexation will develop it as a business park. Services along the San Juan Hollister Road are available to it, and so it will be pre-zoned as industrial business park. Okay. They have completed their application to the Planning Commission for the adjustment of the urban growth boundaries, and then the next phase is to pre-zoning and then the annexation to LEPCO. Okay. The third is the Christopher and Sons. That is the 1.75 acre parcel that lies northerly of the existing boundary of the city of San Juan Bautista. The zoning classification will be to low density residential. It will be serviced by the larger parcel of the 28 acres when infrastructures and services will be provided through there upon development at that time. Okay. And the fourth is Kathleen Manning. She is the owner of a 1.04 acre parcel, and I call it the nose at the corner of the Monterey-McCollum entrance to the San Juan, catacorny to the VFW building. The existing 1.4 acre is part of a larger parcel that is comprised of about 2.75 acres, and by annexing it, it will make it consistent where all of the property will be within the city, and it will all be zoned the commercial or mixed use, whatever the owner desires on the pre-zoning. So those 4, the reason I separated them from the first 3 is these will require CEQA compliance, and like I've said, the second one, the McDonald's, have already complied with the majority of their CEQA. Right, so they will be proceeding now with the next step and then on to LAPCO.
Okay. I'll bring it back to the council before I open it up to public hearing.
Just a couple quick clarification questions. Okay, the mixed-use zoning on the Reina house is the current zoning for the rest of the property?
No, that is the zoning that is designated on the new general plan.
Okay, it wasn't mixed-use before?
No,
What was it before?
residential.
Oh, okay, I thought that was always
Used
mixed-use
to be a
over there.
bar.
Huh?
I thought it used to be a bar.
Yeah, it used to be a bar.
It used to be a bar, yeah, right. But for some reason, the 1998 general plan reclassified it residential, and so we designated that whole strip along there as mixed
Okay.
use.
And the industrial business
gonna get
park,
another bar?
current zoning,
Is agriculture.
and the same for the low-density residential?
We'll open it up for
Agriculture.
public hearing in 1 minute.
Just hold on. It's probably for clarification, though.
I
but
know what
We'll
you
just hold on.
And I couldn't make those work unless they were reverse images, the two of that one property. Never mind, that was just me and the map.
Kathleen Manning is it's designated in our general plan as commercial. It's in the county as AP. And that's agricultural productivity.
Really?
Yes.
That little piece there?
Yes.
Oh, how odd.
I think it was
Okay,
just an
but
easy
the
way
rest-
for them to
Yeah.
pass it.
The rest of the property is designated
Is
commercial.
designated commercial, yes.
But you said commercial or mixed use. It could be,
Well, it could be in either one, whatever they desire to, when they come in
Okay.
for pre-zoning.
so, okay. But if it's designated mixed use, the entire property would need to be
Be
designated
mixed
mixed
use,
use.
yeah. And mixed use is commercial zoning with a residential component.
Okay.
Hey, come on up, I know you're
Okay, got
biting
it.
the bullet here.
Thank you. So don't laugh, but I'm going to give you the history.
Okay.
It was the first and last chance saloon, the stagecoach coming over. It's a historic site. The stagecoach coming over was the first drink into San Juan and going back out over. Next, it was Porta's Bar, and there was another bar, and then it was Frenchie's Bar up until 1960. So and I may want to start a bar
Right.
again.
There you go.
Hey, you got that'd be perfect. In the motel, go back and have a drink.
That'd be a good
There you go.
entrepreneur.
I don't have to cross the highway.
You guys have to open it up for public hearing. If you-
I won't have to cross the highway.
You know, at this time, if you have any speaker cards, then I'll just open it up.
Speaker card from Todd Dubois.
Good evening, Todd Dubois. I have a house on 7th Street, and I am so pleased that annexation is actually on the agenda at City Council now. This project is 6+ years old. It was originally my idea. I am not a landowner or an applicant in this case, but it was my idea 6 years ago, and so I've been trying to nurse it along all these years. It's been a lot of work done, both by staff and by the applicant, and we're hopefully approaching the finish line, assuming the council wants to support it. Roger's been great. We've completed your urban growth boundary, worked with him on the tax sharing agreement, worked with him on the new general plan. We submitted an application a year ago and got comments back from the city, and in March we did the LAFCO maps, if anybody wants to see the LAFCO maps, and filed the rest of the documentation that the city wanted and paid all the fees. So we're looking forward to moving the project forward. There's an amazing amount of benefits for the city. There's currently no space in the city for commercial or industrial companies to move into, and there's commercial across the street, and you know, the economic benefit could be staggering there. Bigger than the hotel, bigger than 5 times the space of Windmill Market. So if you want to increase the revenues to the city, we sure hope you will support this. And This is, technically it's a project, but it's just a paper project, meaning it's moving a property into the city. It's not, this is not a construction, you know, there's no building designs or street designs or anything like that. That comes later.
Which parcel are you referring to?
It's 18 acres on Old San Juan Road, across the street from the RV park.
This is the second one.
This is the second one Roger mentioned tonight. So the urban growth boundary change and the secret documentation for that, as well as a letter from the city planner, does a great job of articulating all the benefits. And I know we don't do a lot of commercial industrial around here, but I can tell you that compared to housing, it is substantially more beneficial to the city. So this was, you know, an idea of mine, and I hope to see it bring big benefits to the city. And if you need any information or you want any details, please let me know.
Thanks, Todd. Is there anybody else that'd like to address the
I have
council?
no other speaker card.
Okay, I'll close it and bring it back for discussion. I don't have any comments.
No, I'm good with that. I wanted to see that for a while.
Joanne? Okay, I guess I need a motion.
No resolution here.
Yeah.
No, this,
Just some
no,
this is
to
to direct
just-
staff
this
to
is
go
just
forward.
simply a
right?
petition.
This is just accept the petition and have it move forward through the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So should I move that we accept the petition and
Yes.
move it forward through the
Yeah.
process?
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cosio?
Not a problem.
This,
Councilmember
oh,
Cosio?
I had one more question, sorry. Oops. This will all be paid for by the applicants?
Yes.
This, any charges on the city ones would be paid by us, but this would be by
Yes,
the
yeah.
applicants?
The first three there, the application fee will be processed and paid by the city and shared by San Juan District, you know, there, because it can go under one application. Depending on how these 4 units go and everything, it could be done in one application and they could share, or it could be individually applied. And so we want to set the table so that we can encourage maybe multiple properties being annexed under one application.
Okay, guess we have a motion in a second. We're going, I think you were on a
Yeah,
roll call
sorry.
vote.
Call roll.
Yeah, go ahead, roll call vote.
Councilmember Cosio?
Aye.
Councilmember Bach?
Aye.
Councilmember Edge?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, 6D, consider awarding a contract to the lowest bidder for installation of a glass front door at Lux Library. Roger,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we put in the fiscal budget this year appropriations to complete the glass frontage on the Lux Library. Right now, there's a wrought iron gate. Leaves blow in there, they have some books there, wind and rain, and it's there. So we felt that maybe a storefront glass frontage, double door with handicap accessible crash panic hardware, door closures would be the best fit. It would be bronze iodine framed with 12% gray light to filter out the things. It'll seal that area out so then they can keep books in there all year round, and it'll really expand the working area of the library in a sense there, and it'll make a better system there. Each building permit that has been issued over the last year, we've issued 6 now building permits, contributes $1,995 to the school impact fees. So far there are approximately $7,980 into that account, and we feel this would be used for the construction of this door, and the bids came in at $6,564 well below our budgeted amount of $7,200 and well below the amount allocated in the current impact fees.
Okay, need a,
Motion to buy the door?
yeah, the lowest one.
It would be a motion to award the bid to
Award the
Coast
bid.
County Glass
Okay.
in the amount of $6,564.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase from Coast County Glass in the amount of $6,564 for the library entrance door.
A second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the motor passes unanimously.
Okay, getting down there. Consider change to Strategic Planning Committee membership. Matt or somebody?
That's replacing Matt Leal with Matt Orbach.
Okay, there you go.
If you want,
Okay.
but you guys have to do it.
Okay.
And I was also, I went to that last meeting and I don't know if they're considering me for membership or, Chris, would there be any problem with me joining as far as your,
It's John now.
oh, new chair, I'm sorry, John. I'm so sorry. John, would there,
We're happy to include you.
well, my only question is, at least the night I was there, there appeared to be a little problem with quorum. And we did get a quorum,
That's why we're happy to include you.
but they kind of wandered in. Well, but adding another person makes the quorum even more difficult unless there are people who aren't showing up that you want to remove.
Let's just say I trust you.
Okay,
They show up.
I just-
Read them.
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to harm the quorum thing.
You're a member, aren't you?
Rick, are you still on
You're
there?
a member, aren't you?
Inactive.
Yeah.
I contribute to the lack of a quorum.
Yeah.
You contribute to the lack of a quorum?
So
Well,
you would be the only council member on?
I didn't, yeah.
Okay, all right.
I am currently a council member, but as I am not running, I will shortly not be a council member, but I'm still interested in being on the strategic planning committee. So I wouldn't be there to represent the council necessarily.
Okay.
So, are you going off or?
No.
Oh.
I just inactive.
Okay, but you'll be on as a council person.
I could be, or if somebody else wants to take over, they can. I kind of got the ball rolling and
Yeah.
I stepped aside.
But it does affect the quorum. It makes it difficult if you aren't really interested in showing up.
Well, I
Maybe one of the-
could resign from it and then I wouldn't be counted against the quorum.
Could you,
Maybe I should do that.
could you,
If you really don't think you're going to be going anymore?
No.
if you were to resign, would you temporarily like to finish it out for the year until we?
I could do that, but you would need to appoint, because I think somebody from council should be on. You would need to appoint a new
Right, we could reappoint.
council member or one of yourselves.
Because there'll probably be some changes in the,
Right. That's fine with me. I didn't realize that Rick didn't really want to go anymore. I thought you just hadn't made the last few
I
meetings.
was more involved in getting it going and I feel that the work of the committee should be the work of the people, not with my input. I've got enough ideas and I can express them here at the council level.
Yeah.
I don't want to have input into this committee.
But do you think a council person should have?
No,
'Cause
I really don't. I don't see
I kind
any
of think
need.
it's nice to have a council person, but
I think, you know, we don't have input into the planning commission.
that's true. That's true. What does the
We're
new
not needed
chairman
there.
think?
Why would we be needed here, you know?
Okay.
There's other people in this community that can put forth ideas besides us.
Okay.
Is this acceptable
Oh,
then? Can I make a
We got,
motion?
Go.
I think we have a speaker. Go ahead.
Who?
Oh, good. Come on up.
Or two.
What did he do, wake up?
Okay. It's getting late at night. but-
Sir, Bob Reed, Strategic Planning Committee, General Planning Committee. I think that because the Strategic Planning Committee is meant to be a place where all the stakeholders meet, that it's important that the city council have representation.
As a stakeholder.
As a stakeholder. That there's a perspective
point.
there that I think is valuable.
I basically will agree with Bob here. We've always had Rick here, and he started it out. He was instrumental, and Chris were instrumental in pushing it, getting it going. I was just kind of along for the ride, so, but now I'm chairman, so. The committee has a lot of ideas, and I don't think they're going to be censored or shy if a city council person shows up.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a stakeholder.
Do we
deal.
have to appoint one person, or can we rotate this, or?
Well,
You could make an alternate, and then that way there.
that's a good idea. I could be Rick's alternate for now, and then you guys can sort it out later. That works, right? An alternate can vote on is that correct? An alternate can
Well,
vote?
the alternate is, yeah, the alternate
and be
can
part of the
attend
quorum.
in the absence of the, I mean,
In the
typically in
absence
the
of
absence of the member.
That's what we do with
Why
the
don't I
other.
just become your alternate, Rick?
Do
And
you want to, I mean, you say that you're not an active member, but you're still a member. Do you wish to continue to be a member?
No, not really, because I don't plan to go to the meetings.
Oh, okay.
Well, then you can, yeah, why don't you just?
So I
say-
could resign now.
Why don't you just ask the council to
Yeah,
remove you, because they can remove and they can appoint.
yeah, that'd be.
What,
Yeah.
if I can make a suggestion, make a motion or whatever to appoint Matt and Jolene to the strategic planning and
Accept,
delete
and accept,
Mr. Edge.
Remove.
Accept Rick's resignation.
Not delete, remove.
Accept my resignation.
Yeah, that sounds better.
And then we can, after, the new council can decide if they want to put somebody on it or not.
And you can always do two people as
Yeah.
you know, one is the, like we do other committees where we have one and an alternate.
that's a good motion.
For now,
Should you remove Matt Leal too?
we're on.
Oh, that's right.
Because that's other quorum.
We'll accept his resignation too, I guess, huh? We have some
Too many maps, man.
That's right. Good point.
This is getting messy. We're going to get rid of half of the committee.
Are you a voting member?
If he's
You count
appointed,
towards,
he'll be.
okay. Okay, so you do count towards the quorum, so we do need to remove Matt also.
So
The
you
other,
should,
Matt.
amend your motion, Tony, to accept the resignation of Matt Leal and Councilman Edge, and appoint Jolene Cosio and Matt Orbach.
Okay. I'll move that we appoint Matt Orbach and Jolene Cosio to the Strategic Planning Committee membership and accept the resignation of Mr. Rick Edge and Matt Leal.
Okay, need a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Rick, thanks. Okay, roll call vote.
You can't fire yourself.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye. You have to abstain.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, we're getting there. Item number 7, discussion items. Roger, I know we talked about the water action plan. You want to go over just briefly?
And my report, just to indicate, is each month we have an obligation to submit our reports on the 5th and 10th. The 5th is a report of our water analysis that goes out to all the public and the mailers, as well as distributed to the downtown merchants. And then on the 10th, I have to submit a report to Jan Swiker on our progress that follows that action plan that I've submitted with you.
That's this one here.
Yes.
Any questions from council? None, moving on. 7B, update on November general election, city clerk.
The qualified candidates are Tony Bach, Jim West, Chris Martorana, Maggie Billich, and Ray Sanchez. The election is scheduled to take place on November 4th. Campaign signs can go up 60 days prior to that election, which is September 5th. And if we receive any information regarding candidates' forms, we'll notify the council and the public.
Okay.
So they can't go up before September 5th?
No.
Okay.
60 days prior to the election day.
Is that a city
I think
or a
we're-
county?
City.
I was going to say they're all throughout the county.
Those, by the way, I mean, I won't say categorically, but recently there have been a number of cases that bring into question the local campaign regulations that limit the timing of those, or the start date and end date of those election signs. So, but right now, our ordinance hasn't been determined to be unconstitutional. But I think it pretty much follows the pattern of those some that have. But in any event, that's the rule. So.
Do you suggest we eliminate it or lengthen the time? Would you suggest that we eliminate it or lengthen the time based on that?
The cases are heading towards just elimination.
Elimination.
I mean, it's hard enough to enforce anyway. So. But for now, that's what our ordinance says. So.
Okay, Chris?
Actually, that's not what the ordinance
The
says.
county clerk is 9 days.
The ordinance says a temporary political sign may be erected for no more than 60 days and shall be removed within 10 days after the related event. Doesn't say anything about waiting until 60 days prior to the election.
But it says...
You got to remove it after 60 days.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you can move it.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, that's my interpretation, but
What does it say, read again?
it says a temporary political sign may be erected for no more than 60 days and shall be removed within 10 days after the related event or will be subject to fines and removal by the city, etc. All political signs must include identification as to the owner, be it individual or political party.
That sounds like to me to be up for a total of 60 days, and the first 50 would be before the election, and the last 10 would be...
It doesn't say anything about when the start and end dates are. It just says that a temporary political sign may be erected no more than 60 days.
No, or no further than 60 days.
Correct.
It must be down 10 days after.
Yeah.
So maybe 70 days.
Before the election, if you want it. Anytime we start the period, it's way earlier. Yeah.
So you could put the signs up now, and then the closer you get to the election, you wouldn't have any signs up.
Or we put up different signs.
You know what? Hey,
Or challenge the, challenge the ordinance.
We got other things, though.
We
I
have a
mean,
hard enough
that's...
time getting them to remove their sign down there at 4th and the Alameda.
Okay. Moving on.
Sorry, I said...
We're actually doing pretty good.
No.
Okay.
Maybe we should consider rescinding that ordinance at a future meeting.
Linda, are you done?
Sorry?
Are you done?
I'm finished.
You finished? Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
If he
Modified.
if he wears his T-shirt, is that known as a human billboard?
I'm sorry, what? Oh, I thought you said something.
Okay, 7C, request to revisit Prop 13, reform. That,
Our last city council, Dave Maderas came forward and he really asked you to revisit that position that you took on the Prop 13. And that was where it and the reestablishment of assessments on commercial, industrial versus residential.
Okay.
I just saw something where the state has done that, or are doing that. They're going to revise Prop 13.
I think
Vis-a-vis.
it might be a proposition going on the ballot.
And this was nothing more than a recommendation to do. They were soliciting support of all governmental entities to get this on so that they'll go through the legislation.
And it's now on the ballot?
I don't know.
I thought I saw something that said that the state had already,
There's nothing on the ballot.
they had already done something.
There's
nothing-
nothing on the ballot right now.
Okay, thank you.
That's me.
There is a measure being brought before the state.
Right.
Yeah.
To-
That hasn't been.
To the legislature, right?
Yeah, what I asked you to do last month or yeah,
2 months.
Dave, come on up, man.
my voice is leaving me since I've been sitting here so long.
Hey,
Yeah, I asked you to reconsider your position, your last vote on Proposition 13 reform. And so I thought you were going to go off and review that and talk and discuss among yourself, come back with a decision today in passing a resolution to stop what is the loopholes that are in the propositions. That's part of the reform.
Okay.
So, and I also was available to help you understand your position better if you wanted to.
Okay.
Well, as I understood it, we just didn't take any action at all.
I would say, Dave, if you could get together with the staff and we could craft a
Okay.
staff report to them and bring it back at their next meeting so that they
Yeah.
can take some action if they want.
Yeah, your decision today could help bring revenue to our county, back to our state as far as taxes are concerned, up to $6 billion, so that we could use for our schools and what have you. So that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I actually looked into that afterwards, and the only reason I didn't go with it was because I didn't understand it. And the more I looked into it and stuff, it was something I wish we could have went with.
Yeah.
And I think I brought it up to you a couple times, Roger, about bringing the two back so that we could make a decision on that.
So we'll look forward to it, and I'll get with the staff. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
7D, report by subcommittee members, consider options for parking in the city.
We have scheduled a meeting, 22nd at 11 o'clock this Friday. And the stakeholders were meeting at City Hall and going to address some of the issues. And from there, the stakeholders here will develop a schedule where we can meet and a strategy for Tony Locke will be attending, myself. Then we have somebody from the church, State Park, and the school.
There's a new priest at the mission.
Yes, the new priest.
Father Jerry. You got him? Okay, good.
Yeah. So we're excited that we can get there and then start to collaborate on some of the issues. And see.
Were both Tony and Rick appointed by the mayor to be on that committee?
Yeah.
I got a thing to pick the time I could make it, and none of the times work with my schedule.
Okay.
The disadvantages after collaborating with everybody, and they said 11 o'clock, and I recognized that straight on Rick's thing.
Oh. 11 o'clock on a weekday doesn't work for you.
My
Yeah.
boss is on vacation this week. There's no way I can
Yeah.
not go to work.
I'm sorry,
that day.
I just didn't realize why you weren't there.
And that's why we wanted to get this first meeting and start to see if we can talk about picking a time when it's more conducive to.
Do we have the owners of the potential parking lots around town? Are they going to be involved in this?
Well, the school was got into the area that was more parking.
Yeah.
The church has some, and the state has some, and then the city has Old Street. So I think we have the stakeholders that are the players. Now, I've identified the other private properties.
Yeah.
They won't be there, but then we can develop a strategy to invite them.
Or that lot behind, I guess I don't think it's behind Daisy's. I think it's behind the Bear Flag or.
Yeah, right, yeah.
My God, that thing is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
And I, of course, followed her advice, trying to get her to lease it to the city. And
She ain't gonna budge.
She's
not gonna budge.
She just doesn't want to come forward, and I don't know what's happening. And I've invited her to say when she comes out to stop in and visit me, and stuff. She hasn't stopped.
See, by allowing that opening, there's some other businesses there that will have access, and I think that's what she doesn't want.
Can you talk up louder, please? Yeah, what are we talking about?
Oops. Yeah, we're talking about parking in the throughout the city, and particularly in the area of the church to the school district to the state park and the downtown area.
Okay.
They're going to have a meeting.
22nd.
11 o'clock.
Roger, is that a meeting that the public can attend if they want to sit in the audience, or is that a closed type of meeting? Just a question.
To be determined.
We only have one councilman there, and I guess it could be an open meeting, you know.
I mean, if somebody in the audience or somebody wanted to attend and sit back, and can they attend?
Yeah.
It's sort of, it's a little like the meetings that you guys have in Hollister, the intergovernmental meetings. If somebody wanted to come and sit in the audience and just observe, they could.
Yeah, that's what
but
my question.
They wouldn't have input.
Right. Okay. Good thought there. Okay, 70 redevelopment loan for the property at 206 6th Street.
And I'll defer that to George. I know Bob Rathie was emailing us with the information on that.
The way you left that the last meeting, Bob was at the meeting, but the way you left it, as I was told, was that it was referred to the city manager to work out on the basis of the loan being paid off without interest. And since the last meeting, the prospective buyer, I've forgotten his name, I'm sorry, has emailed Bob a few times saying what's going on, I've got some other ideas or whatever, and Bob has simply referred him back to Roger. So I don't think anything is...
Nothing is done there.
Yeah.
We've expressed that we would waive the entrance if he would pay the principal.
How much was the principal?
17,000.
17, yeah.
17. Yeah.
And since Bob emailed him the last time, which is about a week and a half ago, we haven't heard anything. And I think Roger hasn't either.
Yeah.
But the council's direction is still, unless you reverse that.
But he understands that what the city wants is the return of the principal and would drop any other charges.
That's more than fair. Free money for all those years. So, okay. Comments, City Council. Rick, you want to start? Robert?
I said enough tonight.
No, Robert, you have anything?
I just wish if any of these lawsuits that are going to come to the city and stuff, just, Roger's door is always open. We're always here to listen. I think we could work this out instead of costing the city thousands and thousands of dollars. It's really put a dampener on our water project. We can't move forward if we know that we're going to have to come out later and start paying attorney fees back and forth and stop development and progress of the city. Just let's sit down, let's talk about it, and this town doesn't have much money, and now it's got even less from just the start of this, and that's pretty much all I have right now.
Tony?
I better not say anything. I'm done.
Jillian?
I've already said too much, so I'm just going to go with what Robert says and second the motion.
Okay. I don't have any comments. Roger?
None.
Matt? George?
No.
Motion
Okay,
to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.